But yeah, you can change the picture.
All right. Hey, Andrew, I saw that you have joined us.
Hello.
Excellent.
Oh, hey, Andrew.
Hello. Hello.
How you doing?
Most well, thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Sounds like everybody's doing well. Did you have a good weekend?
Yes. Yes, if you're
I had my Halloween party.
Oh, yeah? How was it?
It was good. We made it Day of the Dead instead and did it this Saturday after Halloween.
Nice. Excellent. Well, I think Eric, I'm going to send an email to Matt. Eric texted me earlier and said he might just be a teench late. But let me, Matt needs his own engraved invitation. So.
Yeah. Guys, I'll tell you right now, Les knows this. There is one player that will not be here tonight, but she will be joining us next time. That's my daughter, Betsy.
Yay!
She also goes by Beth. I'm grandfathered in for the name Betsy, but
I call her Beth.
We shouldn't. When she went away to college, she started using the name Beth.
Okay.
When I went away to college, I stopped being called Les and went with Fucko Bazoo, the dog-faced boy.
I like that. That's classy.
Lasted all of about 20 minutes.
What was the first part?
Fucko Bazoo.
Fucko. Okay. Fucko Bazoo.
The dog-faced boy.
Dog-faced boy.
And 20 minutes, wasn't that how long you lasted in college anyway?
Yeah. Well, the first time, yeah, there was an incident.
I had a different experience. When I graduated high school, I went to the military and became cockroach.
Oh.
Cockroach?
Cockroach. Wow.
Ouch.
Everybody gets called cockroach.
Oh, okay. Were you in the Marines?
Okay.
No, I was in the Navy.
In the Navy? Shipboard Navy or were you on a boat?
No, because the aircraft that I was set to work on is too fat to land on an aircraft carrier.
So you were a land guy. That's cool.
Yeah, I was in Sicily the whole time.
So
nice.
So you were in the Navy working on aircrafts.
Yes, I was an aviation person.
My father did that.
Working on P-3C Orions, which are
I don't know what he worked on, but he was down in Florida working on airplanes. His entire naval career, his time on a boat consisted of him running on board the USS Enterprise to grab a rope.
There you go. That P-3C is a sub-hunter, and it's too big to land on an aircraft carrier. So the closest I got to the ocean was living on an island.
Okay.
So, but if you have to pick an island, Sicily's a pretty good one.
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Unless you're trying to lose weight, yeah. Otherwise, it's a great island.
Hey, there's Eric.
Hey,
welcome, brother.
Good to be here. Can you hear me?
Yep, sure can. Can you guys hear him? Well, it's been a while. So I got to say, Eric, it's been a while since we saw you on Game Night.
Yeah.
It's good to have you back, buddy.
Welcome back, Eric.
Great to be here. My friends, it's great to be here. Good to see you.
Glad to have you back.
Eric, sit back and talk for a second. Well, you don't have to sit that far back, but sit where you were normally when you say something.
Don't make him go outside.
Well, he's been leaning into the microphone. Don't lean in the microphone, just talk.
Gotcha. Well, my microphone is across my desk. Also, my family is sleeping, so I gotta kind of keep it
Okay,
down.
that's a reason. Okay.
Yeah, he's got two little guys at home that have been fighting colds for the last month and a half.
Okay,
so
because the microphone is picking you up fine. We can hear you even if you sit back, but if you don't want to talk loud because of them, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right, this is awesome. So I sent an email to Matt. Has he joined us yet? No. All right. So we'll wait for him, but we'll get started. So first of all, thank you guys. This is so awesome. I have been wanting to play this game. This no shit. I have been wanting to play Traveler for like the last 25 years.
I can testify because he tried to get a game going before.
I tried to get a game going before, and you guys know my prejudices about this game because I've let them out in those long ass emails that I've sent to you guys. But I always wanted to play Traveler. So Dan and I, of all people, played in high school with each other for a while.
There's Matt.
Played Traveler. Hey, is Matt here?
Hi, all. Can you hear me?
Yep. It just makes a fart noise. Yeah, we can hear you, buddy.
Hello, all.
Welcome, brother.
Howdy, son.
So I was just thanking everyone because finally I get an opportunity to play to Game Master Traveler. Dan and I, when we were in high school, I think it was at least like 11 to 1200 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Played with friends of ours, and it was, when you're in high school, you're maybe a sophomore and your best sport is chess, and you're not really good at chess. This is a bit, it's a nerdy time for everybody.
You're my people.
So it was like, but yeah, we had a blast with it, and I always wanted to play it again. There were some aspects of the original Traveler game like very much the sort of quasi-medieval sort of system of nobles and the feudalistic sort of, and I was like, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So over the years, I had collected all this Traveler shit. I had compiled some stuff and old software, Windows 3.0 software programs that I'm emulating now, and all kinds of other shit. And I always wanted to run a Traveler game, and I could never convince anybody to let me do it because I explained it to Don and our other other people of our gaming group, and they were like, "Fuck that! That's a shitty sounding game. We're not going to play that."
That doesn't sound.
So the entire reason Les started late night game night was just to work us for 5 years so that he could start a Traveler game.
Yeah.
It was a long con.
That was my plan. So I established credibility for 6 years, and then then I just slipped this. No, I gave and I gotta be honest. I was really super gratified when when we were talking about C Team, and I was putting together all these different kinds of potential games. The fact that you guys responded most positively, and it was sort of a blowout too. It wasn't even close to Traveler. I got to say that was pretty gratifying, because I figured that we would have probably a few people for another Pathfinder game that would be like, I just want to play Pathfinder. We have a great time. Maybe a couple of people say, I'd like to try the 5e rule set for D&D, and because everybody loves to play that, and it will be between those two. And then in the distance, Matt would be calling in for Call of Cthulhu, because that's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah, always.
Which you did actually were like, I want to play Call of Cthulhu, but I'll tolerate these other games if we happen to get in them.
I told you that what I remember about Traveler playing in junior high was the first time I played with high school kids, is that my character died at least a dozen times. Like this is an unforgiving system. There's no falling unconscious and getting healed. You did dead, son.
Right. You're
that
alive.
Was just in character creation.
Yeah. Yes, and I was telling Les when I used his auto generator there that my first 4 characters died in service before I got a character that was finally alive.
I was getting a lot of people coming to me and saying, this thing kills characters like it's a bodily function, and I was very glad when I started playing around with that character generator, the fact that it did kill characters, because that's one of the things you can actually. There are shirts out there for Traveler that say, You haven't lived until you've died during character creation. I love that shirt. I'm probably going to get one at some point.
Maybe we should save all the characters that died in service, and you can use them as random NPCs when needed.
Just random corpses. I'll just leave them, laying around on the floor of the docking deck, that kind of thing. So, but I wanted to thank you guys. This is going to be great. I'm really stoked about this. I've been collecting this stuff, like I said, for nearly 30 years, and finally the opportunity to use it in an actual game. I'm mega stoked. So thank you again. So this is so you guys have seen. I don't know if you have seen a lot of the. Have you read all the way through the emails that I've sent? They were super. Yeah. So
I've been gone for a couple of days, and you sent a lot of them the last few days.
And I think Chuck was just like, what the hell is going on here? I'm forwarding these book-length emails just to get him scooped up. I'm sure he's like, I'm not reading any of this shit. I can't do that.
No, unlike Don, I read them all.
You read them all?
And I'm not even playing.
Well, you are one of the blessed few, my friend.
So Don should feel especially bad.
No, as a sociopath, he doesn't feel bad.
Do you not know me at all?
Yeah.
Chuck, we can say you're playing, but you're an ethereal being that's ascended to a higher plane, and now you're just observing the meat sacks on this dimensional plane, going about their day.
Chuck will be playing.
I'm a mostly harmless alien observer. My goal is to someday work into being allowed to play NPCs so that I can repay Don for the zeal with which he did it in the original A team that I joined, which means he dies every week.
I think we can make that happen. I can't imagine that there would be a time when Chuck wouldn't play every single artificial intelligence in the universe. And they all talk to each other. So, Don, if when your character gets on an AI's shit list.
Chuck, did I actually kill one of your characters?
No, it wasn't a matter of death so much as, like I said, the zeal with which you portrayed the NPCs. I would like to
I did like that.
I would like to repay that back to you at some point in the future.
Well, so that was something that came up in the in this. So this happened in Council of Thieves, and it might have been before you came. Because Chuck, you didn't play in Council of Thieves, did you? You didn't come on until after they finished that, did you?
No, I was in Council of Thieves.
Remind me what your character was.
The priest, the Egyptian
Oh,
priest.
that's right.
He showed up. He didn't show up till the Undead City, or
right. I didn't show up
there.
until the Undead City, but
well,
right.
So one of the things that Gordon still talks about is like the most evil thing that I ever did to them in Council of Thieves was the final battle, the Battle of Eridan's Head. I called back Mike Phillips and Libby to play the bad guys, the main bad guys, and basically run all the villains, except for I had like one or two that I was running. And they played that so hard. And Gordon came to me later and he said, that is the most evil thing that you've done to us. As a DM,
well, yes,
was have
because
actual people come in.
Basically, you compiled a group of rules lawyers who then made sure to press that advantage for every bad guy while quietly ignoring the fact that it was being overlooked for the good guys.
Exactly.
Oh, you should have gotten an attack of opportunity, but I'll just be quiet. Meanwhile, my guy has 9 attacks of opportunity. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a tough battle. That went on for weeks.
Months. It was a long battle.
And Dan, you would have been proud. Tom actually blew up. So the battle was in sort of this courtyard around this giant statue of the god Arodin. And up in Arodin's head, which was hollow, the bad guys had stored like a couple of big barrels of naphtha that they were going to pour out of Arodin's eyes, light on fire, and that was going to be the signal to all of their minions around the city that it was time to swarm, right? It was time to take over the city. Well, Tom got wind of this, summoned a gravity elemental, and basically gravity elemental the head so that it basically formed like a container, a gravity container, and then he detonated the naphtha within that gravity container and basically exploded the statue's head all over the courtyard with all the stuff in the thing. It was a beautiful thing.
The rest of us were looking up what a gravity elemental was. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
He pulled that thing out of his ass, and even I was looking it up. I was like, what the fuck is that? No, you know who used to summon gravity elementals all the time was Shane. Shane used to do that. The Fog Hollerwitz used to do
Mr. Black Tentacles himself.
Black Tentacles himself. So, but yeah, so this is, I'm really pleased to start this up. This is going to be great. I don't know, did you guys get the email that I sent with the agenda for tonight? So tonight is session 0. And I do not expect that we will get to actual gameplay tonight. What I'd like to do tonight is a couple of things. I want you guys to, I think, it's basically introductions. I want you guys to introduce your characters, talk about what, and this is like a meta element. So, not necessarily to give all the details of your backstory, but talk a little bit about what your characters are like, what they look like, that kind of thing. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about the environment. We'll talk about the Gin and Tonic as a ship. We'll talk about where you're at right now, which is a sensor orbital around the planet of Adagio in the Mirabilis system. Mirabilis, the name of the star here is, hold on, I can tell you this. I had it here momentarily. Let's just find it real quick. I think it's in the 13th. Hold on. Mirabilis is Omicron 2 Eridani, or also known as 40 Eridani is the name of the star, the technical name of the star. But everybody calls this system Mirabilis. It's actually a triple star. So you have a bit of a 3-body problem. But there are a lot of planets here, and one of them is a planet called Adagio. You're about just under 5 astronomical units away from the primary star. and it's the planet itself is pretty barren, but you are in an orbital, which is a large orbital platform in geocentric orbit. We'll just go ahead and do this real quick here, just to show you that you are here.
Can you zoom in so I can really get a sense of where I am?
Sure. Here we go. Hold on. Let's do that.
Yeah, I totally see me.
I see a spreadsheet.
Right
Yeah,
there.
there.
You are here.
Wait,
You are here.
I'm looking on roll 20. I need to be looking at the Zoom, right?
So yeah, you are here. You are in a bar called the 7 Grand, which is so this place is known for being a hauler's bar. Basically, it's a place where commercial haulers tend to congregate when they're off duty. It exhibits. It's a good looking place. I mean, you can see the picture of it down here. I'll show you. Just scroll down a little bit. You can see kind of what 7 Grand looks like. Place here. A lot of starfarers coming here. A lot of places. One of its claims to fame is that it has cloisters, which are little rooms that are connected to the bar area or connected that you can signal the bar and get more drinks to. But they provide a relative sense of privacy, and you can talk about stuff. And that's one of its larger claims to fame, is that area is there. It's a good spot, and everybody seems to like it. And that is where your characters are meeting tonight. So you're in this cloister, and I think it makes only sense for your captain to start off with. So Dan, I'm going to put it on you and talk a little bit about Captain Black, with the caveat before we get started is that out of all of you guys, only Dan has sent me any pictures of his character. So I may try and dig that out and show you guys what he looks like. But in the meantime, I need everybody. So put that on your list of things to do.
Oh, yeah,
Send me a picture.
I forgot about that.
Send me a picture of your character, including one that will be suitable for Roll20, because we will be using Roll20 for those instances where you guys are on a map.
Okay.
All right. So with that, I will hand it over to Captain Black. Dan, tell us a little bit about Captain Black.
Well, first of all, he would probably almost never respond to Captain Black. His Captain Jet Black. And when you see the picture, anybody familiar with the game, the anime Cowboy Bebop will recognize him right away as Jet from Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, yay! Thank you, Eric.
So I have to tell you, I know virtually nothing about anime. So
I know nothing.
I never watched Cowboy Bebop.
I'm Jon Snow.
Well, regardless, he would also tell you that now that he's retired from the Navy, he doesn't really feel called captain as much as he used to. And Jet is just fine. He doesn't really look the type to be worried and doesn't seem worried about anybody ever not doing what he tells them to do. He's a very strong individual, a very a seasoned combat vet. You get the impression he knows how to handle himself in any kind of hand-to-hand combat.
There he is.
Yeah,
we got a picture of him.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry.
The two things that would strike you the most physically about him, one is his age, especially once he would let it out that he is retired from the Navy and had reached the rank of captain, which is surprising because you would guess his age to be late 20s, early 30s. He does not look very old. He does not look like he's anywhere near old enough to have both reached the level of captain and to have retired. Second thing about him physically is that he lost his right arm. It is now a cybernetic arm, and has a few other wounds on him. So again, gives you the impression he has been involved in some pretty substantial combat in his life. He, other than that, is very quiet about his service, saying that he served in the Navy. And
there's Captain Jet.
There's Captain Jet. And that he, has a lot of experience with fighting and a lot of prior experience working in the Navy. But he will not talk any further about anything thing he did. He will tell you about the ships he was on, where he was, what kind of assignments he did, come up in conversation, refers to it as his previous life and that he's in his new life now. He's also a very adept engineer. He's also very good with computers. Basically, he has a lot of I won't say jack of all trades because that's a specific skill that he doesn't have, but he has a lot of different skills that make him pretty effective around the ship, and does a lot of the repairs himself, at least the minor ones as necessary, in a way to save money because the ship is mortgaged pretty heavily and he has some substantial loan payments that need to be made. And that's why he's endeavoring to go on these voyages with you all and has made his ship available as a way to earn some extra money so he can help get his ship to be more his than the bank's as soon as he can. What else do you want to know about Jet?
Any questions about the captain?
Have you ever killed anybody?
Great.
His simple response would be, of course, don't ask anything for more details, though.
Now, can I go next?
Please.
Sure, if you must. Nobody has any more questions for Captain Jet Black?
Shoot that scenery, Don.
All right, Don. Let's talk about Mehmet.
No, just Tam.
Tam.
Tam's my last name. I am also retired Navy. You are not surprised that I am retired because I am old enough to do that. I look to be at least 15 years older than the captain. I came to be here through Emix. Emix is our kind of patron logistics expert. He gets us our jobs. He kind of assigned me to Captain Black's ship. Captain Black, you're kind of like a freelancer, right? With your ship, Emix gives you jobs so you can pay for it, right?
Yep.
Okay. You needed a pilot. I was looking for a piloting job. I'm not really sure if I approached Emix or Emix approached me. It was kind of a mutual thing because he had heard I was looking and I had heard that he might have some jobs available. So, Captain Black and I didn't really serve together in the Navy, but we both were in the Navy, retired. My primary job that I wish to do on this ship is piloting. I do have engineering skills. I have a ship's boat skill, which is kind of like shuttlecraft. And I have some medical experience.
So shuttlecraft experience will be important. To jump in real quick. In that the Gin Tonic is not a ship that can land in a gravity well.
Right.
It was built in space, and in space it shall stay. But because of that, it does have, and we'll get to that in a little while. It does have it has a shuttle. And you guys can name it what you want, but I always thought Slice of Lime would be a good name for the shuttle. So
Wedge.
Up to you guys. Wedge of Lime.
Wedge for short.
There you go.
There you go.
Anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Don.
That's basically it.
What was your rank in the Navy, if you don't?
I did reach the rank of lieutenant commander.
I'm not surprised MX found you early because piloting is one of the few skills I do not have on the ship, so you will be absolutely necessary in this regard.
Thank you. I'll hope to fill that job well.
All right. Who wants to go next to talk about their character? Come on, don't be shy. It's a role-playing game.
I'm the doctor.
Okay.
I also have a lengthy military career, having done 7 terms of service. I am a very skilled medical practitioner. I'm very well educated. I also know a bit about computers and electronics, and know my way around a ship. I can also shoot a little bit with a carbine. You'll notice about me that I tend to be fairly serious. I do have what could be Tourette's, and not the fucking shit down. It's more the tics, the physical tics, and I have some strange scarring. I don't talk about much of that, but I tend to be very serious and know what I'm talking about. When I talk, I seem to know what I'm saying. I put a lot of into my education and trying to learn about as much about medicine as I could. And my dream was to become a surgeon, and not just a surgeon, but the best surgeon. Unfortunately, my dexterity is so low that I can barely feed myself without scooping out my eye.
That's so traveler.
So you're not quite sure why I would have taken this shitty assignment with my background and pedigree in the military, but there are some things about me that look a little shitty.
So what does he look like physically? I mean, other than having some scarring and potentially some tremors.
He looks a lot like Dr. Benton Quest.
That's great.
From Johnny
Quest.
From Johnny Quest?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's take a look at it. Oh, okay, Blackbeard kind of thing. Okay.
Well, if I can figure out how to get the picture.
Oh, red hair, it looks like.
Yeah, redhead with the red beard. Very serious looking.
Did you say where you served?
I served 7 terms.
With who?
With the Navy?
Yes.
Okay.
How old are you as a character?
I am
curious what you washed out at 7 terms. I know what I'm going to be at 4 terms, and I know I'm considerably older than
46.
some of the characters. That's not bad for 7 terms. Cool. I thought you'd be like 86.
Well, I feel like
There's a picture of Dr. Benton Quest, so a little idea of what Andrew Carey looks like. One thing that we didn't talk about, Don, is what your character looks like. What does Tam look like?
So the doctor and Tam are roughly the same age.
Okay. So who's playing? So we know Dr. Quest is playing is the actor playing Milagrosa, Dr. Wagner, Dr. Milagrosa Wagner.
And we should be Banner. No.
Dr. Banner? You wouldn't like him when he's angry.
No, it wouldn't be Dr. Banner. No. Bruce Banner from Johnny Quest.
Okay.
Can somebody remind me how to change your image on Roll20? I'll do that while I'm waiting for my turn to talk.
how do you do that?
Okay, white-haired guy?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So Bruce Banner is playing the role of
Tam.
Tam. Pilot. Okay. We're having an all Johnny Quest party here.
We'll go ahead. We'll go ahead and get into this a little bit.
Basically,
after you spend some, we've been together for a while now, right? Les?
Oh God,
the team.
No.
Tam, the pilot, played by Vice President Mike
Pence.
No.
no.
All right. So what? You asked a question. Who?
Mike Pence would make a nice Andorian, though, just to make him blue.
Yeah. A couple of, so we were saying you've been together as a crew for a long time.
How long as a crew? How long have we been together?
About 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we just met at the bar.
So a lot of you just met at the bar. Now, some of you may have been familiar with each other through connections through Emix and stuff like that, but most of you have never met before. And
right.
Essentially, Emix Codex 30 Maryland put you here and said, meet this guy in this place at this time in Mirabilis system. I've got a job for you. And so you guys have made your way here over the last several weeks. And this is the first big meeting.
Sounds good. Yeah. I think as with everyone, more information will come out as we play and everything. So right now, I'm good with Bruce Banner being not Pence.
It's going to be Pence, probably.
Hey,
just so you know.
Real quick, how do you change your image on Roll20? I've forgotten how. It's been so long.
According to Chuck, you got to do it outside of like in the beginning's early screen.
Yeah, you have to go to the home page, click on the image you have.
Profile.
And it will go to your profile, and it'll allow you to delete or to remove that one and upload a different one.
I think I put that one in like 2013 or January 2016. February 16th, 2014. That's when I put that image in there. So it's been rocking for 5+ years.
Almost 6 years, yeah.
All right. Crazy, man.
All right, so that is the captain, the pilot, and the science officer, Dr. Wagner. Let's talk about Eric. Eric, what is your character? Oh, before we get started, let's do this up front. Who plays your character? What's your character's name?
My name is Coffin Doyle.
Okay, and if you had to cast it for the movie, what actor or actress would play Coffin?
Coffin is a guy. He's a small man. He's small. He's 168 centimeters. That's about 5'6".
Okay.
Slim. He's age 46. He has served 7 terms in the Army. He's a small guy, but he looks a bit like a brawler. He looks good with his hands, and he clearly has been in a few fights, and he knows how to handle himself. Movie star he would look like, I don't know. Who's kind of a short, sort of toughish guy? I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, well, you can go back to that.
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci, sure. That'll work. All
right.
Great, sure. He likes to gamble, and one might say that he likes to gamble a bit too much. And recently, in a gambling event, he bet and lost his precious carbine. So,
yep.
So he's one of his personal goals at the moment is to get that carbine back. So he's a bit at 6s and 7s because he has no carbine. It's a simple 9mm older model carbine, nothing fancy at all, but it does get the job done. This crew needed a gun guy, a brawler, and that's who I made.
Okay.
He's human, Caucasian, sandy brown hair, age 46, but still looks fit. He's on the quiet side. You can see that he tries to practice routine situational awareness. He at times he'll glance around and but he likes to drink. He likes to gamble. He likes girls. He misses his gun. He's a meat and potatoes kind of guy, but secretly he likes to read.
What? We can't have that on this show.
It's crazy.
And he likes to read cheesy sci-fi novels.
There you go. Perfect.
So that's Coffin Doyle, I could say that he looks like a slightly slimmed down, bald Joe Pesci.
Okay.
Coffin. Is it with a K or a C?
Coffin.
Okay. I also have an interest in gambling, cards. I prefer cards to other types. Maybe you and I can, hit some of the casinos together.
Love to. Cool. Yeah. Also, Coffin thinks he's really, really expert at cards. He thinks himself a card shark.
I
But
do not think of myself as a card shark. I just a enjoyer of the game.
that's great.
You like the space ponies?
Yeah.
Well, and of course that means Coffin is no great shakes as a card player, but
He loses a lot.
Well, he just lost his carbine.
Carbine. Yeah, carbine.
Carbine. So yeah, but he's always ready to find the next game. So Coffin is flawed, but he looks basically reliable and somebody you want at your back.
Very cool. All right, that's awesome. So Coffin, is that a given name or is that a nickname?
Well, it's
Because of all the coffins that you filled back in the army.
Actually, it's a name that Coffin Doyle are names that I got by turning around and looking at my library, and I just chose two names. But Coffin is a name that it's his given name. His mom and dad named him Coffin.
Okay. All right.
And,
Good to know.
Doyle is the family name. He's obviously got some old Earth Irish.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey,
All right,
Coffin,
perfect.
quick question. You mentioned you're kind of the gun guy. Is that mostly the carbine rifle and other handguns, or else are you any good at ship's gunnery?
I am not. I was never a gunner. In the army, I learned about pistols. I learned short guns, long guns, and medium guns, and I specialized in the medium guns, hence the carbine. And I really want to get back my carbine.
So something like that would probably not have been, inner core systems army. This was probably with somebody specializing in what is essentially a slug thrower, as opposed to a plasma weapon or a laser weapon.
Right.
That would tell you guys. So from your guys, I don't know if Coffin would talk about. Probably meant that he wasn't necessarily a member of the of a Salamini Confederation army. It might have been a regional army or even a planetary army. Somewhere with a bit lower tech level.
Low tech, yeah.
Yeah. Well, not so much low. I mean, carbines aren't
They're fine
modern
weapons.
carbines are not bad. But Space Marines would carry something different.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very cool. So our last up is Matt or Mr. Weber Jix. Tell us about Weber.
Hi all. So Weber here is a former diplomat. And after all that trash I was talking about the 7 terms character, I realized mine's a 6 terms. So apologies, I didn't realize how the terms broke out. But I am a recently retired diplomat. You get to feel that I have charismatic skills and I'm good with the people, as it were. But maybe I have just the right amount of smarm that's why Enix brought me in on this kind of job. There's something slightly what's untoward about my overall perception of the world. I've been a diplomat my entire life in the Imperium. I see things as a realist and not as a loyalist. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Most of my skills are going to be around my diplomatic stuff, but I have some interesting skills in terms of foraging and carousing and liaison and recruiting. And I also have, they were asking about ship's weapons. So I have I have a small ability in ship's weapons.
Ooh, there's my gunner.
Yeah, most of the time a diplomat is traveling on small ships, and occasionally he's called to help defend, when drive off would-be space bandits there. or when you're leaving a diplomatic situation that's gone bad, you got to be able to make sure you take care of yourself. In any case, I like a good drink, a good adventure, and I feel like Enix has talked me into maybe being some of his being his mouthpiece when needed at various jobs, and that's how I see this right now. I see this as this is just one of many jobs, and Enix put together a new crew, and I happen to be on the crew, and I know that Enix is chooses the he's algorithmically has chosen what he feels is the best people for the job. So I don't have any concerns about my fellows, because I know that whatever the job is we're going to be tailored to help fit that need.
Well, right now, Tam's kind of curious as to what Emix was thinking, because it looks like he's got an entire crew of old retired military guys with some hotshot captain that is quote unquote retired at a very early age.
So
I think we're bringing you a space old folks home.
Let's just sound off real quick. Let's each of you sound off with your characters' ages. How old? So Captain Black, how old are you? You said mid-30s. 34. All right. Tam, how old are you?
46.
46. Dr. Wagner.
46.
46. Coffin Doyle.
46.
46. And Weber Jix.
I'm trying to scroll down to where it is. I believe I am 46 as well. I'm
46 as well. So you've got a bunch of dudes. Exactly right. So as Don pointed out, you've got a bunch of dudes in their mid-40s.
We just all retired after seven.
After long careers in the military, primarily in the military or the diplomatic service.
Pretty much, unless you're a general, you're pretty much forced to retire after the 7th term.
Is it really? Have any of you seen any characters that have gone to the eighth term?
Not that survived. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Death in service.
Very curious. I mean, the rules accommodate for that.
I apologize. I'm age 42.
42. A punk kid.
Yeah, I know. As I can personally approaching 50 now, that I know that my knees didn't hurt as much as they do now. Age 42.
Oh yeah, 46 is young.
Oh yeah, when you're in your early to mid 30s, it's like stay out all night, work all day, and bounce back in 2 seconds. You're approaching 50, and it's just like, oh, I think I hurt myself sleeping.
Yeah.
We actually talked about that this weekend.
Yeah.
I think I slept wrong.
When I was for
having so much sleep experience.
When I was 44, I was folding a towel on top of the dryer, and I threw my back out and had to go to the emergency room.
Did you really? I mean, I'm sorry to laugh, but you were folding a towel?
Yeah, when these millennials complain about something at work, like, you have no idea what's coming for you, son. Just enjoy your e-scooters and your snowboarding and whatnot.
I'll tell you what, probably the worst injury I ever got in the stupidest situation was that I was in a tickle fight with Marla, and she stepped on my baby toe when I was pivoting the wrong way, and I broke my baby toe.
Is tickle fight a clever euphemism you're using in this?
No. It was an actual tickle fight that we were having. Unfortunately, no. It was an actual tickle fight, and she stepped on my foot, and I pivoted the wrong way, and it broke my baby toe. The thing about baby toes is you can't splint them. You just have to. The guy was like, "Well, I'm just going to tape it to the next door toe and just kind of limp around."
You go to the hospital and they're like, "Yep, it's broken."
Yeah, it's broken. It's broken. It sounded like a pretzel.
Why can't we evolve those out of our life? Baby toes, pinky toes are worthless.
I know.
They help with balance.
I got several questions for the intelligent designer because, frankly, if the first robot body that comes down the pike, I'm downloading into it.
Well, even if it's just cybernetic, I want a Bluetooth pinky toe.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I can just let me turn on my hotspot right now, just wiggle my toe, boom.
Exactly.
All right, we're good.
So sign me up, Verizon. I want to throw her.
So one of the things I did in college is I was in sports medicine.
Okay. As a subject, or
yeah, to be like an athletic trainer.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I thought you meant like as
test
a
subject.
test subject.
No, not a test subject. No.
Okay.
Anyway, me and another guy, both realizing that the knee is a horrible, horrible joint, designed a much better knee and offered it up to God to put it in over evolutionary period. So,
Don, you might dust that design off and send it to the NFL. I think at least 11 quarterbacks need it this year.
Yeah.
I heard some very sad things on the news about this week's football games. So
It's just a cast of casualties. Not even fun.
I really think a lot of it's because they're not hitting in practice anymore.
Could be.
They're all worried about injuries, so they're not doing anything to cause any injuries during practice, which just means you get injured during games. So
during the games, yeah, that makes sense. All right, so Matt Weber Chicks, who's playing him in the movie?
Well, if you roll over to roll 20 here, that's what I was trying to figure out.
I have to
my image.
Change my images here. Hold on a second. I gotta check this out.
I needed somebody with a lot of charm and just the right amount of smarm. See what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a guy with a goat head staff.
No,
that's his old picture.
Oh, I gotta refresh. Okay, hold on. All right, I'm refreshing. 2 seconds here. I like it.
Yeah.
It's all good, man.
Slippin' Jimmy himself. Yeah, Slippin' Jimmy himself. Good space.
Beautiful. All right. Well, this is awesome. All right, I'm going to turn off the pictures now because it's taking up like literally half of my page here. So, okay. Beautiful. So, Bob Odenkirk playing Weber Jix in the movie. All right, that's great. So, like I said,
I went with the cartoon-looking one, a version of him, so I see a lot of people have gotten illustrations this time versus photos.
Everybody's image of their character comes from different places. Some from anime.
I got to change mine. Mine is still Marcus.
Yours is still Marcus. Mine's going to stay Vlad the Impaler. So I'm sorry. He's Vlad the Space Impaler now. All right, so that's great. So like we talked about before, we've got a young captain and a crew of old salts who are ready to take on the world and the universe. So y'all get to talking and talk about, everybody is kind of like talking about, how they know Emix and all that stuff and getting ready for their first job. So
I would say that less, I would have been disquieted once I met these folks, not so much from their capabilities, but the fact that nobody mentioned they had family and kids they get back to, which made me think that Enix has chosen a completely expendable group and no one's going to miss if we go missing.
Yeah, not a lot of family men here. Honestly, the urge to go to interstellar space. If you guys were like stay-at-home dads and stuff like that,
well, most
reality, those guys stay planetside.
Job, so.
All right, so you want to take a quick walk around the known universe?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that.
I can show you the universe.
All right. So you guys somewhat familiar with this map. This is the star map. I have edited it pretty significantly, but you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I got a notification that my thing was.
You broke up a little bit, but you came back.
Okay, cool. Real quick, let me reload my drink and then talk about where y'all are. Hold on a second.
Wow, so the vegans have their own stuff.
Exactly. When Trevor was made, they would call that the vegans, but now we all know that's the evil vegan haunting the northern climes of space.
We're gonna go carpet bomb them with bacon.
See.
Well, that would be the affront, wouldn't it? Attacking vegans with bacon.
Yeah.
And you got the hive.
All right, I'm back.
Honey.
Was that addressed to me?
Honey.
Yes,
yes, sweetums.
Okay. Sorry.
I called it the affront.
The Affront, yes. So we'll talk about those guys. We talked about them a little bit before in one of those long ass emails, but obviously people don't necessarily read my emails all the time. So let's talk about where you guys are right now. So you guys are at a star system called Mirabilis 40 Eridani, which is right here. See that?
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is Mirabilis. So you can see Terra is here. So you guys are about that's what, about 7, 8 parsecs away from Terra. Terra being the original system, soul system of the heart of humanity. This is the center of what we would consider known in civilized space, this Terra. You guys are sort of on the outskirts of that area, but you can see what I've got listed in the greens here are the various systems that could be considered to be in this sort of the central Solamini cluster. Solamini from Sol, Solamini, humanity, humans, that they're all analogous to each other. Essentially, in the early days of the jump drive, this is the direction that people moved away from Sol, first into their system, and then out, hitting the nearby, star systems first, and then moving outward. Now, I talked to some of you about this, but as you can see, not all of the Solamini cluster is what you would call, there are some different greens, and those are from a point of view of game mechanics. You have A starport systems, which are listed in the light gray, or light green, I mean, and then B starport systems, which are a little bit less civilized, typically due to the nature of the system itself, not necessarily due to anything that has to do with the Solamini, but due to the nature of the system itself. Typically, B-level systems would have similar law levels and tech levels to what you might find on Sol or Sirius or UV Ceti, but the system itself is just not as good a place. Fewer standard planets, fewer gas giants for the processing of fuel, weird sun configurations that just aren't very good spots. They're still populated. There's still a lot of people there. They're just not as good as spots. Then you have some of the green ones that have these red around them, like this guy's right here. Now, these two systems are at war. These are both human systems that are at war with each other. And hold on, I will find the actual information about those. Hold on a second. I gotta sneeze. Hold on. Oh God.
Gesundheit.
Thank you. It's not happening. I hate that.
Take it back, Eric.
Can't do it.
Hi, it's doing good.
Okay. All right, let's talk about these guys real quick. So the hexes outlined is Kaguk and Cymbeline systems. It's L205 and L399. They are at war. Now, as wars go, this is what I would refer to as a desultory conflict. But it's between two human systems, both of whom get a lot of supplies from Ember and are both on the trade routes. They contest for those purple hexes for areas of influence, but generally this is not a what you would call a lot of shooting war. This is more of a war of words, a bit of a Cold War. It's alternately peace negotiated and what I call arms catered between various subtypes. Sometimes there's some shooting, sometimes there's an isolated starship takeover here or there, but as wars go, the war between Cymbeline and Kaguk is not that warlike. Much different when we go to the southeastern known universe and we look at the war between the Affront and the Kzinti. Now, I've sent you guys a fair amount of information on both of those races. The problem with the Affront and the Kzinti is twofold. One, they're pretty close to each other. And two, they are very much alike each other in all of the worst ways. So the Kzinti, obviously, as you are almost certainly aware from being a science fiction reader Eric, I'm pointing at you there. The Kzinti obviously are from the David Niven books.
Right.
They are a warlike and bloodthirsty race of cat-like aliens,
Yeah.
essentially evolved from what any Terran would recognize as variants of Panthera tigris, the tiger.
Snarf, snarf.
They are
Lion-O.
They are thundercats. Yeah, exactly. They are about 8 feet tall. They hail their homeworld is the third planet orbiting the star WZ Ursa Majoris. They are, for lack of a better term, to think of an analogy from Earth history, you would think of probably samurai Japan. They're a very patriarchal society. They have their own code, which is called Strak, which is very much like what you would read about in Bushido, right? They have a high level of personal honor while still maintaining a level of collaborative action, and collective honor, one for all for one. And if somebody does something that's bad, everyone suffers. They are warlike, they are imperialist, but they also have the unique sort of position of being first alien species that the Salamini ran into. Now, obviously, when that first started, that first meeting descended almost immediately into violence, and there was a pretty staunch war between the humans and the Kzinti that lasted for a while. That war is long past, though. But the Kzinti have the sort of honor of being Earth's and the humanity's longest allied race and first species contact. And frankly, the humans were the first outer species that the Kzinti encountered as well. It was through humans that the Kzinti acquired both artificial intelligence technology, which they are somewhat ambivalent about, and jump technology, which they really like. So there's that. The problem is with the Effrunt, and we've talked about the Effrunt, which are essentially, they are a race of creatures that grew up in a gas giant environment. They're essentially like 9 to 12 foot gas bags with tentacles. They float. They live in a low gravity, cold, gaseous environment typically. And they are just absolutely some of the most horrifying culturally aliens that you would ever want to meet. They learned genetic engineering quite early in their evolution, and they used that talent to essentially modify both themselves to be more martial and warlike, and the creatures of their home planets and home system to be more entertaining, shall we say, to them personally. They are notorious hunters, and they enjoy inflicting cruelty. If I were to put alignments on them, I would say the Kzinti would probably be lawful neutral, whereas the Effrunt would be chaotic neutral, tending towards chaotic evil. But they are alike. They are alike the Kzinti. They are both highly martial societies. They have very intricate and complex warrior codes. They both prize martial ability on both the collective and individual level. Both races are evolved from highly efficient predator species, essentially the dominant predatory creatures on their homeworlds. And they have all the genetic baggage that comes with that. They're imperial. They're expansionists. And they absolutely hate each other. The quote is basically, if you have a Kzinti and a Effrunter in the same room, at some point during that time, they will try to murder each other. That's just the way they are. They find themselves in a war that is genocidal in nature. They fight no quarter. They fight to the man. The problem is that humanity also has a diplomatic arrangement with the Effrunt. Now, there was a short and relatively brutal war with the Effrunt, brutal to the Effrunt. They were pretty outclassed from a technological standpoint. And as the old saying goes, any alien race that showed up on our doorstep that was capable of faster than light travel would probably has the technology to extinguish us quite easily, and that was sort of the situation between the conflict between humanity and the Effrunt. The Effrunters, for their part, didn't really care, and it was only the almost complete destruction of their their space faring force that caused them to even come to the peace table. And subsequently, they actually are, that we do have a diplomatic arrangement with the Affront. That puts Earth, the Salamini cluster, in a weirdly precarious position because right next to them on their doorstep, they have this very brutal, very violent war that's taking place very close to the Salamini cluster space. You can see Midway, Paraspora, Junction, which is a major star system in Salamini place. They're only a couple of parsecs away from their homeworlds. The Affronter homeworld is in the Loki system. The Kzinti homeworld is in the Inferno system. They both are jump capable. They can get at each other, and they can get at Earth. Frankly, the humanity's job here is to keep this war contained and try and broker a peace before one of them exterminates the other, because the Salamini have diplomatic relationships with both. But in the meantime, the Affront and the Kzinti are actively and vigorously trying to wipe the others out. There's a lot of, on the news clusters, there's a lot of talk battles, and a lot of people who are interested in this particular war tend to take sides. Most people take the sides of Kzinti because they know them better. Kzinti have been, have been seen and met, and throughout the Salamini cluster. Affronters, they tend to stick pretty close, and that their physical dimensions. Kzinti are nitrox breathers. They are, while the climatic conditions on their home world tend to be a little bit less gravity and a little bit colder than what we would consider to be Earth normal, the Affronters are freaking, they live on gas giants. So the physicality of the Affronters has just sort of kept them at home quite a bit. They, it's difficult from a logistical standpoint for a human and an Affronter to be in the same room. Same with the human and the Kzinti, although there are arrangements that are made, various suits that can be done, that kind of thing. To problematic. It's just their physicality is much different. So that's what's going on there. You can see in blue, the blue dotted lines are some of the major trade routes, especially the major trade routes between core systems and outer systems. Around, if you go to the northwest, you can see the other major alien races, the Vargar, which are a dog-like race. Canids of sort, but they're an upright canid race. The Hive, or the Hivers, which are a race, if we had to do an Earth analogy, are related to probably something like starfish, evolved starfish. They're multi-limbed and have a central core. And then the Vegans, which not many people know about. They are based, obviously, out of Vega. They are pacifists largely, and they're just, you haven't met very many of them. They are more of a race that people have heard of as opposed to have met. The blue lines represent major trade routes, and you can see primarily those go from high-tech, high-law areas to low-tech, lower-law areas. These are the trade routes that are going to be of interest to you as you proceed to do your jobs for EMIX. As we've talked about before, EMIX is put you together as a medium to long distance freight hauler, specializing in what we would call the outer systems away from the core. There's it's like, I forget who I was talking to today, but basically it was the idea of like, look, you're going to make more money if you're willing to drive to Alberta, Canada, than if you're willing to drive across town. And that's where, as EMIX would put it, that's where the money is providing freight services to places that don't get a lot of traffic. You can see in this area right here, there's a lot of
traffic.
A lot of traffic in here, and I didn't even put in the traffic that's between Terra and Prometheus and Junction and Midway. There's a ton of not just freight, but all kinds of spacecraft traffic here. As you can imagine here, the same. When you have these star systems that are very close together. Now, Mirabilis is a bit far afield from some of those. Sort of on the border of the Salamini cluster, tends to be a little bit less stringent about stuff. None of you have ever been to Terra. It could be, and I'm thinking, Matt, your character may have been in Sol System on diplomatic stuff, maybe once or twice. But going to Sol System is not something that everybody does.
Yeah, it was okay. It was, the hype was more than I thought it would be, but it was okay.
Overhyped. But that is the essentially near space. As you guys saw earlier, I have, and I've sent this to you. I have compiled a master star chart. Hold on a second.
Hey, Les, what were the black lines?
Where did you see those? Oh, those are on the map themselves. Those are, ignorable.
Delineations.
Yeah, they're sort of delineations that come from the original map. For our purposes, they're the Salamini cluster is this the rightward one. The other one was more of had more aliens in it, but in this case, we're not going to be. We're not.
I understand what the blue arrows are. What's the shaded areas again? Why are they shaded?
Oh, the shaded polygons. Yeah. So that basically is just me marking off in a general sense what comprises the Salamini cluster.
Okay.
Now, once you get outside of there, that's when tech levels tend to drop off quite significantly. So if you look like for here, for example, Agita system, which is, I believe, 1824. So let's look at the star there. 1824 is Ross 154. Single star, if we can look here, we'll see that it is a star in the constellation of Sagittarius. Much to be, it requires a telescope. It was first cataloged by Frank Elmore Ross on Terra in the ancient classification 1925. It is a UV SETI type flare star, which means major flares about every 2 days.
Okay.
All right, so Ross 154. But it is also a sector capital. It is a high tech level, high law level world. But as you can see, once you go north, you can see that those C and E, and those are sort of indicative of the spaceport types and stuff like that. Agita and Ross 154 tends to be a place from which out system traffic tends to go. So you can see that there's ways to go to Vega and Altair. Those trade routes go out there. These three star systems, and probably to a lesser extent these two here, are served in large part by trade from Agita. So there's this whole sort of ring here that kind of like right here.
Yep.
That kind of is served by this particular trade spot.
Lastly, to the west of Mirabilis is just a white space at this time. Is that just unknown space, or just not something that's going to be factored in the campaign?
There's not something that gets to be factored in the campaign. It is. There are no stars there.
So it's just a giant void, as far as we know.
It is. Yeah, it is pretty significantly deep interstellar space. Now there is. So let me mention that there is traffic that goes through there. Obviously, and we'll get to the Gin and Tonic. The Gin and Tonic can carry extra jump fuel and make additional jumps. These are not places that are unreachable, but they tend to be expensive to go to. They tend to be places that are only reachable by certain kinds of ships. And frankly, there's not a lot of call to go out there. This, what are we looking at here? This is this one here, Pilgrim, which is 0332. So let's look at that star real quick. 0332 is Iota Horologiae, which is out in the hinterlands. It's not a popular space. It's 56 light years in the Horologium constellation. It's a yellow dwarf. The system is just not all that cool.
Okay.
Now, there may be people there, and we'll talk a little bit about this in a sec. There may be people there, but generally speaking, they are likely to not have a lot of visitors and to be overwhelmingly self-sufficient.
Okay.
From Terra's point of view. So we talked a little bit earlier, and I mentioned that when you talk about colonization, at the early days of the jump drive, you have colonization, which is taking place, and some of that colonization, obviously, is going to go to the closest places first, right? So you've got, hold on a second.
Barnard Star and.
Right, you've got some close places that are going to be
I think
more
the
primary
collective wisdom's
targets.
always was Alpha Centauri's closest, right? I don't even know if it's on this map. But.
Alpha Centauri is definitely on this map, but it's probably not. And you're talking about Proxima Centauri,
Yeah, you're right.
the close one. So let's just go ahead and do that. Proxima. Whoops, it helps to spell Proxima right. So Proxima Centauri is Prometheus. So yeah, very important star. So right here, right next door to Terra. Right? So it's right there. So yeah, it would have been one of the places that we would go to. So Barnard Star right there.
It really is kind of the closest.
Yeah, Sirius is right here. You've got Junction, which is, what is Junction? Let's find it. So that's Wolf 359. So that's right here. It's right there. So all of those would have been, even UV Ceti, which is where Emix is based and that kind of stuff. These are all very close into this in this sort of like little area right in here. These would have been the first places that everybody went to, right? So, but let me try and get this off of here. Okay, but then that colonization, that spread would have been very much commercial/governmental in nature, right? Think NASA would have gone to these things, and they would have been, there would have been very incremental sort of ideas about colonization. We don't want to go too far too fast. We want to be able to support our nearby colonies, that kind of thing. But then you have places that are farther away, right? And they're populated. There are people there, but those people those people would have been less commercial, governmental, and more private organizations that had acquired jump drive technology, and they put things together. And the way I explained it earlier to somebody was, think about how the United States, the early Americas were colonized. You had the Quakers moving into Pennsylvania. You had borderers from the Scottish and Irish borders moving into places like Virginia and Maryland and the Carolinas. These people were leaving their home planets because they felt that they were either marginalized or they were looking for economic opportunity, and sometimes a combination of both. Sometimes that's religious, sometimes it's governmental, sometimes it's aristocratic, but the impetuses are the same. They feel that they are not well liked or well respected, marginalized in their home systems, and so they bought a ship and took off. And so when you look at the outer worlds, some of these places like this cluster right around here, if you can see up at the top there, I don't know if you can see.
Yep.
All right, you can see up at the top that cluster there. These are going to be out of our church. Those are very far away. Places like this, this star here, Alpha Cephi, this little group here, which there's a lot of trade at. These little guys. All of these places are going to be populated by. They're going to be much different than what tech levels and the kind of routine kind of legal systems and sort of things that by as a part of being in the core systems. They may have very different legal structures. They're going to have, in general, probably less. Much less in some cases deference for the sort of the Solomony way of doing things. They're going to have their own ways of doing things, much like the government of early Pennsylvania, for example, was quite different than what we would see in the government of England based out of London at the time. Right? They move out there because they want to be alone. They want to do their own thing. Okay, so that brings me to the yellow areas, which are what you guys would know as areas that have fuel depots. Now, these are places that are basically buoys in deep space. And these places have been set up either as commercial ventures in some cases or as governmental areas in others where people can go and they can refuel. There are fuels trucked out there in quantity from various gas giants in the region, and they basically there are gas stations there, and that helps to get to some of those larger those sort of outlying areas. Make sense?
Makes sense.
Yes. Any questions about the local? I'm sure we'll talk more about this kind of stuff as we start moving about. But if you have any questions, just let me know.
Cool.
All right.
Cool game. Cool game.
I think it's going to be awesome. All right. So that was a quick walk around the known universe. Let's talk about your ship, the Gin and Tonic. All right. So I put the Gin and Tonic up here. And this is your ship. So essentially what you've got here is a ship that is a 300-ton jump 3 freighter hauler. It's a cargo ship. I mentioned earlier that it cannot land even with line shape that you're seeing here. It is not a ship that lands in a gravity well. This is a ship that docks at spaceports. But you also have, and I'll point out here, what would we call a schooner. This is a ship's boat that is wedge that will go into gravity well. So if you have to go down there, that would be the best way you take. The squares that you see here are 2-meter squares. And so if you want, we'll just go over real quick.
I always love these blueprints that the Traveler has.
Yep.
They're so
awesome,
entertaining. Yeah. I bought a whole set of these floor plans when I was like 13.
Did you really?
Yeah. The Azanti High Lightning groups.
Oh, nice. I have that somewhere. They're really cool. And there's just tons of them all over the internet too.
Yeah.
But this one is yours. So this is the Gin and Tonic. So let's just walk through it real quick. So this is the bridge. This seat over here is the captain's chair, the one facing to the right. And then you have, that's the pilot's chair. And the co-pilot sits here. And then this is either the captain or it's also the sensor array. So you have a couple of different seats in there. This hallway outside is the primary hallway. It also is the way to go to the airlocks. You have starboard and port airlocks here and here. This is the primary way that people get on and off the ship. Okay. You pass through the iris here and you come into the circular area. These areas over here to the left and right, this one is the mess area where food preparation is. To the right is the head, bathrooms, showers, that kind of thing.
Wow, unlike Star Trek, they actually gave us toilets.
They gave you toilets. And then once you get into this ring, this is essentially crew quarters and passenger quarters. It can be used for either. You guys can section off what you want. This circular area in the middle is a common area, typically where lounging would take place, that kind of stuff. Of interest to note in this area, this little area, that thing here, and this thing here are hatches and ladders that go down, as you can see, into the primary cargo area. Those are up hatches. We'll get to that in a minute. Off to the left and right, over in this area, you can see, let me just make sure I've got that right. Over here is a cargo area for the crew. So any cargo that the crew has will be put in this area right here. Of particular note to Dr. Wagner, this is the med lounge. Let me make sure I got that right. Yeah, sick bay. So this is a little room right here. There's an auto dock and various stuff there. Over here, hold on a second. I want to make sure I'm reading this right. Over there is passenger cargo area. And these two areas, these two circles are lifts that go down and up. You have right here, you have escape pods. These are essentially escape pods for crew. You also have a couple of jump missiles, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
How many does escape pods hold?
Enough for 12.
Each?
6 each.
No, 6 each.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Then you get into engineering. This is in the back. This is the engineering area. This black mark here is the jump drive. These are the 2 fusion drives for interplanetary. You can't use jump drives. At least you should not use jump drives within a gravity well. So there are a lot of Lagrange points in most systems where you have to actually like truck out there to get away from all the gravity wells in a particular system so that you can effectively enact the jump. jump it into the system from those Lagrange points, and then use your fusion drives to kind of like they're sublight drives essentially.
Right.
That would bring you in system and that kind of stuff. And they're both here. So there's 2 sublight drives which are fusion driven, and then the jump drive in the middle. So that is the upper deck. If we scroll down and look at the lower deck, you can see there is a significant amount of room for the schooner, for the wedge. It drops out from below, so there are 2 large sort of bay doors that drop out from below. It does not come out the front. It drops sort of, think about the Sulaco when it dropped that the Marines down onto the thing where it actually opened up, and then the clamps.
Aliens reference, first Aliens reference. Okay.
Oh, there'll be many
Not
more.
to be the last.
I know.
Not to be the last. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
we know
not.
that.
I want to know: is this a stand-up fight or a bug hunt?
Yeah.
That's what I want.
You ever been mistaken for a man? No. Have you?
Have you?
Yeah.
Great movie. All right, so hold on a second. So that's where the wedge is. Down here you can see that this is where these are another set of gangplanks that goes down here. There's a small lounge here. Let me dig this up real quick. Make sure I'm getting this all correct. Amundo. That sounded like somebody fired up a torch. Was that you, Chuck? Sounded like you.
Nope, I'm on mute.
Okay. Here we go. All right, so that area there it's a lounge rec area. If we go back down here, this is a recreation. You can see that there are a couple of couple of hatches that go into the area. This is a double hatch, obviously, because if you have a breach, especially in this area where the launch is, you want that to be taken care of. Here,
What's across from the lounge on the other side? Did you already cover that?
No, that is secure storage. So this is a lockable area, which is essentially for things of that need to be under lock and key. Same for this area here. There are individual lockers in there. It's for small things that need to be secured. This area in the middle is a much larger cargo area. This is internal cargo space. You can fit about 25 metric tons of stuff in here, and it is loaded through this iris, which is in the bottom of the floor. When you dock at a spaceport, this is through how the cargo gets loaded. In fact, a lot of times when you dock, there's a couple of ways you can dock. If you're not taking on cargo, oftentimes you'll dock at a place so that these locks can be used because you're just onloading and offloading personnel. But if you're onloading and offloading cargo, which is most of the time, you'll often dock sort of belly up,
Like a lamprey eel or something.
The orbital, so that this is connected.
Remora style, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that the cargo can be loaded automatically. Over here would otherwise be called the ship's armory. By Terran law, any weapons carried aboard need to be secured in the ship's armory at all times, unless under situations where they are required. And they need to, I think, only the captain is supposed to, by law, have access to the armory doors. And it is under his jurisdiction that weapons will be provided. At this point, I don't think you guys have any weapons to put in there.
Where was the armory?
Sorry, right here.
I would have.
I'm not seeing where you're pointing. Where are you pointing, Liz?
Are you on roll 20?
No, I'm on the Zoom. I'm gonna go back to roll 20. 1 moment.
Well, if
Sorry.
you look on Zoom, you should see the circles forming.
Yeah, I didn't see them. All right, 1 second.
Right. It's in the cargo deck.
Or I'll add another
sort
color.
of to the bottom.
I see it now. I see it now. All right,
okay.
Thanks.
That's where the armory is. And that's it. So the engineering area is it's 2 stories tall, essentially. More than that, really, because the ship is pretty big. But there are gantries and walkways in there, so for engineering, you can get in there and move around. But it is quite deep and covers both decks. But otherwise, it's a small, tidy ship. Each square is about 2 meters. I mentioned that before. So As you can see, it is thick. The claim to fame for this particular hauler, 25 metric tons is not a ton of space. That's what can fit in here. A lot of what would otherwise be internal cargo space is taken up by your schooner, by wedge. But for hauls, what this thing has, and it's not shown here, but what it has are 3 what are called pod docks, where essentially, it's kind of analogous to like shipping containers, right? So you have connectors that you can essentially take a cargo pod, which contains another 25 metric tons of whatever, and essentially just screws into the bottom of the Gin and Tonic. And by using all 3 of these cargo connectors, essentially hauling, containers, shipping containers, you're able to increase your the amount that you can the amount that you can ship to 100 metric tons, which puts you. You're still small freighter. Your claim to fame is really the jump drive. It's a jump 3 engine, which is quite large for a ship of this size. As you can see, we'll go back to the map real quick. The vast majority of haulers are jump 1 ships. It's just easier and more economical to make those ships of that size. But you can see for a lot of the internal stuff, if you look at where most of the stuff is going, it's jump 1 or jump 2. Terra to Prometheus is 2 parsecs away. Same there. A lot of these things are within jump 1 or jump 2 of each other. Jump 2, basically what they do is you take a jump 1 ship, you tie some fuel to it so that it can make a second jump when it stops out in deep space. But that's the bulk of inner cluster hauling. Your jump 3 engine and your ability to carry 100 metric tons of cargo makes you valuable from the point of view is that you can actually take a fair amount of stuff out to a pretty remote location and drop it off. Make sense?
Yep.
So,
all right.
Hey, Les.
Yeah.
When you were doing our tours, this is a good time to bring up the question I asked you earlier tonight.
Okay. Remind me what that question was. Why are there no hard points?
I see no hard points.
Okay, so generally speaking, for a ship like this, constructed within the Salamini cluster, and designed at least initially for local usage, there's no reason to have guns. For a couple, there are a fair amount of not so much military, but what you would consider law enforcement police ships that are out there, and it's their job to sort of police the space lanes, especially the commercial lanes, and make sure that there are no pirates, that there's no rescuing people. And basically, what they would tell you is, you're a freighter, you don't need a gun. What you can do, and there are mounts that you can buy, like aftermarket mounts. What you can do is petition local law to say, look, I need a permit to install what will be called anti-debris defense, or ADD. That would allow you to mount certain kinds of weaponry to ensure that if you were in somewhere that had, for example, a very significant asteroid belt, and that you needed to traverse that on a regular basis, it would make sense for you to have something that would be able to take care of,
asteroids,
debris. Yeah, debris field. Most scout ships will come mounted automatically with anti-debris defense stuff. Now, once you get out in the hinterlands, however, elements of piracy, elements of rogue warships, things like that. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily be able to buy heavy weapons, ship-mounted weapons at Mirabilis, because it would raise more than a few eyebrows. But if you were to get out to, like, I don't know, where would we go, perchance? If you were to get out to a place like Basseterre, which is the star name for that is...
That goes Nova. Would it be then Bossa Nova?
Would be. That's correct.
One thing about Weber Jix, whenever you say you want something that seems a little odd, he's going to say, I think I know a guy.
Oh, we can vote I know a guy rules.
Yep, we can. So I don't know why it's not but say like in Ike, which is Beta Cassiopeia. It is a D-level starport. It is pretty far from the beat off the beaten path. It could easily be that Weber knows a guy who might be able to hook you guys up. So Weber, as long as we're talking about that, do you know a guy?
For some warship weapons.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what we're talking about when we talk about the I know a guy rule, right?
I don't know that rule. No.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me read it.
I did read that part.
Did you?
That was fun.
I don't think I read that rule. I apologize. I was just coming.
No,
I was
it's okay.
spitballing.
All right, so
You just happened to use the phrase.
Yeah, you just have to know a guy.
If I'm Saul Goodman, I know a guy.
You know a guy. All right,
Every time they get to a jam in that show, they go right to Saul Goodman plot point. I would be like, oh yeah, or I got the MacGuffin you need with this guy right here.
Hold on a second. Where did I put it? All right. So we will also. So I wrote this to you guys. It's like basically this. We will be using the I know a guy rule, which was posted on Twitter by a guy named David Nett last year. It basically says it's a house rule, and it's meant to create something analogous to the moment in what he calls ESB, but it's Empire Strikes Back. When Han Solo decides that he can go to Lando Calrissian for help, but he isn't 100% sure how Lando will actually receive him. So this is the situation. This is the rule. In any situation where it makes sense, any player can, I know a guy, and then quickly sketch out that NPC and the relationship they have. Fewer details are usually better. That leaves room for me and the PC to sort of make it up as we go along. Upon that declaration, this NPC now exists. And then when the PCs try to interact with that NPC, the player who created him makes a charisma roll to see how the NPC reacts. Depending on the situation, the DA may decide advantage or disadvantage applies. It's a simple and loose mechanic that invites players to create critical NPCs and continue developing their backstories as they play. So yeah,
for my character. I did not read that at all, but that's perfect for what I would be. Yes.
So you can, at this point during this gun talk, you can declare, "I know a guy."
I know a guy.
All right, so you're declaring it. So tell me, I'm gonna have to take some notes here. Tell me about this guy. What's his name?
His name is Palmer. I don't know if he has a last name or that's his first name, but he's the guy we go to when we're getting in system. That not everybody we're working with is on the up and up sometimes, and diplomacy sometimes needs to be turned up a notch in terms of let's say on being able to fight your way out of a situation. So, but you can't always bring stuff in on the up and up, so you got to have a little on the slide. Palmer's your guy for that.
Okay.
He can get a lot of ship weapon, maybe not capital ship level stuff, but for these smaller ships, for some ground guns, we did a few jobs together, and the Corps. But he's been on his own for
in the Corps.
In the Corps.
Diplomatic Corps.
The diplomatic Corps. That's what he's referring to. I love that. He's in the. We did a few jobs together in the Corps.
Yeah, but he's been freelancing for some time now, and last time I saw him, I think he was working to palm off some old tech on the front.
Okay.
But if we need some, I think we might be able to swing by where I think I saw him last. When Les brings up that map, I'll tell you exactly where I saw him last.
All right, hold on.
One second. In this world, how do I communicate? I don't recall in Traveler, like you can't Jedi hollow call your friends, right? FaceTime your friends. How do you?
Well, so we'll talk about that. We need to talk about communications across great distances and how neural lace works from a communication standpoint.
Yep.
So you guys are here.
And so Loki is the main system for the front, right?
It is the main system for the front, yeah. But between you and there is a lot of high law.
Okay. I would say that it's the other side of the front system. That what's that one down there in the corner? Dismal.
Like here, Greenpert?
No, Dismal.
Oh, Dismal here. Oh, he's there?
Well, last time I saw him, I haven't talked to him for a while.
Okay.
Maybe he's helping the Khazinti instead.
Yeah.
Well, he might be. Yeah, he might have gone full Alcibiades on this particular war. All right, we have a guy, Palmer, who's a gun guy.
If by the way, if we see Palmer in person, just don't ask about his legs, okay? Just do me a favor. Don't ask about his legs.
Don't ask about the chicken.
Hey, does Palmer have any carbines?
Smoking, carousing, a little gambling, and he'd get along with you guys great.
Nope.
You know.
Carbines.
No, not card
weapons.
game.
Oh,
He means
carbines.
The carbines.
Sorry.
The rifle.
Yeah, I would say that, that small tech stuff, I'm sure you come up with some carbines. Palmer's a resourceful guy, right, Les? I mean, you know the guy.
I know the guy. He's a very resourceful guy and a bit of a gun runner too. So yeah, at Dismal, he's probably running guns for the Cymbeline thing, but he also is a friend to the affront too.
Yeah, gun runner is such a sordid term. I like to think of a arms procurement specialist as more of a, I think is what it says on his business card.
Gotcha.
Now,
all right, so now we have Palmer, our first NPC.
Now we would have an idea of what this would cost, right, Les? We're talking.
It would depend. So for ship-based weapons, I'd have to look into it. Not millions, certainly. Okay. But maybe you want to take out a loan. It depends on what it depends on what you get. If you're getting like full-on automatic AI-driven plasma Gatling guns, then yeah, maybe millions of credits.
We don't need to be fancy. We just need something to protect ourselves.
Well, just out of curiosity, why are we going to banks and stuff? Isn't there perfectly good weaponry sitting on other ships already attached that might go missing one day? I'm just saying, that things are happening in deep space. You can't always, a lot of these.
Sometimes.
Detaching a hard point mounted spacecraft weapon it's not like shoplifting, dude. I mean, you can't. This is a week-long job. Although, to your point, if you were to come across, I don't know, derelict ships or somebody who had a bad day out in deep space where there weren't a ton of spaceships around, then you could spend that week now, couldn't you?
Yeah. Plus, for cargo specialists, maybe somebody needs something taken somewhere that nobody else needs to know about. Might be able to help us out with a thing.
That's true.
I'm sure somebody here knows a guy.
Somebody else knows a guy? All right, cool. So Palmer. We have to come up with a last name for Palmer. Or is it just Palmer?
It's Chili Palmer from Get Shorty.
It's Chili Palmer. Who I'm imagining is the guy from Seinfeld who's selling the black market shower heads.
Oh yeah, right. The one from the animal, the pachyderm house or whatever.
Yeah, that's for elephants. You don't want that. They use it on elephants. No, that's what we want.
He gets blown out of the shower backwards.
Cool. So you guys might have to go see a guy named Palmer that Weber Jix knows. Interesting way to go. All right. So let's talk a little bit about Neural Lace. Now, several of you have purchased it. Some of you have not. But Neural Lace is got a couple of uses. So first, if you were going to add any cybernetics to your body, the first stop is usually Neural Lace, because Neural Lace is this sort of inset thing that puts on, it's essentially a computer interface that's inserted into your brain and overlaps some of your brain. So it lets you do a lot of things. First, and pertaining to cybernetics, when you're having cybernetic implants or something like that added to your body, it helps to control the body's reaction to those things. Various kinds of bad things happen when you take metal machines and flesh and you slap them together and hope for the best. Bad things happen. There's tissue rejection. There's cancers that pop up. There's various kinds of infections, and just a general sense that bodies don't like to have machines put in them. Neural Lace controls all that. It also allows you that level of control that you can control your emotions to a large extent. You don't get excited. You oftentimes are very cool under pressure. You can control your moods or mood swings. You can also control systems that might otherwise be considered to be autonomic. If you have Neural Lace, for example, you can probably hold your breath for about twice as long as a normal person. because you can control through your lace the amount of oxygen that you're using in your bloodstream. You'll be aware of the buildup of carbon dioxide, so you can gauge how long you have. There's these sort of internal controls that you're aware of. So that's one. It gives you a much greater level of internal bodily control. The other side of that coin with cybernetics is not everybody can afford neural lace. It's 50 grand to buy neural lace, and it takes about 3 weeks for it to get inserted and set in. Some of you have it, some of you don't. Some of you who don't may want to buy cybernetic enhancements and hope for the best. Now, depending on what you do, that could work. You might be able, if you're looking for a telephoto lens to replace an eye, that will be fine. But it's when you start piling up cybernetics, that's when problems start happening. And as you begin to get more and more, or you have something that's very invasive or that kind of thing, problems can occur. There are various kinds of things that can happen, some physical, some psychological, that can accrue if you don't have neural lace to handle your cybernetic input. It depends on what you want to do. If you want to take that chance, you can take it. If not, save up and get your neural lace.
I didn't read about the cybernetics particularly, but is there something that's kind of the vanilla cybernetics that everybody would get?
Well, so not necessarily. I mean, it's pretty. Hold on, let me dig it up and we'll go through it quick. It's pretty customizable, and there's a lot of different things. Hold on a second.
I can see as a diplomat, I'd like a Rosetta Stone brain implant to let me speak any language of any creature I come across.
There you go. I mean,
I haven't looked at the cybernetics. I'll have to look at it closer.
So yeah, there are things like that. Here we go. Cybernetics. Let me just punch this open. So can you guys see the spreadsheet?
Yep.
Okay, so I made this spreadsheet. Essentially, you have various types of cybernetics: appendages, armor, augmentations, bioware, built-in weapons, combat wear, cyber audio, cyber optics, cyber weapons. Obviously, I haven't thought this as hard as I can.
I didn't see neural link listed here, though.
Wait,
no, it wasn't listed here. Neural lace is sort of a separate kind of thing.
You didn't tell me we could have tentacles, Les.
You can have tentacles.
Whoa. This changes my whole character build.
Well, you got to know a guy, though.
Well, look at this. You have a shoulder mount with extra arms below the second set.
Oh, like the Zaphod Beeblebrock's arm?
Yeah.
You got that third arm and a second head? Okay.
Yeah, so you can do that. Spiked foot heel for kicking people. Armored cowl covers your head, gives you armor. Now, I've kept some of the cyberpunk stuff in here. We'll modify to fit once you guys get these to fit Traveler. But yeah, these are all sort of stuff you can get. Eric, I think Coffin might be interested in things like if he has an arm replaced with a chainsaw. That'd be fun.
Wouldn't Coffin be more interested in a carbine that is his arm?
Sure. We have one right here. It's a fold-in shotgun. Takes up 2 spaces in a thing, so you have to get your capacity built. But yeah, if you could put a carbine in there and it just kind of folds out, sort of RoboCop style. You have mini cameras, hidden holsters, which is the size, pain editors, which allows you to forget about that. Booster wear, which allows you to get better initiative rolls. Homing tracers, seismic detectors, all this stuff. Image enhancement for your eyes. What else we got? Venom glands, so you can spit venom at people. Dermal armor, it's all in here. Flashlight in your finger.
Too many choices.
Finger bombs, taser grips, tentacle finger.
The old pull my finger.
Yeah, pull my finger. Quick draw arm holster, fire extinguisher in your forearm. You just pull it out, and variety of armor. There's a lot of stuff here and if you can think it, we can probably put together. But again, something like if you were going to put in torso endo armor, that's pretty invasive stuff. I don't know that I would put that in without having neural lace to help control your body's reaction to it. You're talking about armored, subcutaneous armor around your entire torso. If you wanted to get, again, Corvette cyber legs, so they were high-speed cyber legs that speeds you up, again, that's pretty invasive. But if you were going to get like I don't know, what's an easy one here? Sort of a auto injector, right? People have auto injectors now for like diabetes and stuff. So it holds up to 5 doses of some drug. It would not be as invasive. This is something that you could probably get without neural lace and be probably okay. Make sense? We'll do all that on a case-by-case basis.
Unless once you've paid for the neural lace for one thing, you've got it for the other things as well, right?
Right. Once you have neural lace, it will control. Yeah, if you want, and then you wanted to add some of these things, you could. There's costs associated with them. It's not included in the neural lace, but
Right.
How much was the neural lace?
50,000 credits.
Oh, well,
But you don't have to keep paying that.
No.
Yeah,
End of the door.
there is some.
5,000
There is annual
5,000 a
maintenance.
year.
Yeah, it's something like 5,000 a year. Let me find it and tell you exactly. It's
a lot of us have like retirement. My character has retirement. Probably less of us have retirement stipends, right?
I've got a retirement payment.
Close the tab that had it all in it. Hold on a second. So yeah, I think there is definitely a maintenance charge for your neural lace. You have to go in to some place with a high tech level. So that means you can't spend a lot of time elsewhere. You know what I mean? You have to come in. You have to come in periodically to the high tech areas and get your lace sorted out.
Otherwise, they send those 2 guys to come cut your cybernetics out of you, right? What was that movie with Jude Law and Forrest Whitaker? Remember, they're like
Harvesting.
yeah, they're like the
Repo
Repo
Man.
Man. Yeah, they're like the Repo Man. Yeah, that was it. Not the great classic Repo Man, but Repo Man.
So hold on. So let's find neural lace. I'll find it. I'll let you know. But yeah, there is an annual maintenance kind of thing.
And I'd just like to say that I am a doctor and I do have computer and electronics, so maybe for a discount I could hook you up.
There you go. Annual maintenance is 5 kilocredits. 5,000.
So we have to. That's if you buy it on credit, right? Not buy it all outright, or no?
No, credits are like dollars. Okay.
I thought you said it was $50,000, but or 50,000 credits, or somebody said you could buy it 5,000 a year.
No, it's 50,000 for the initial installation and customization.
Got it. Okay, got it.
And then annual maintenance is 5,000.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
That's incredibly expensive, isn't it?
It's very expensive, but it also gives you an idea of the kind of standard of living that exists. Almost everyone on Earth and in Europa has neural lace. Probably 95% of the people that live in Sol system as the home system. Now, if you get into like the belt and out in the outer planets, it's going to be less prevalent. That's where your 5% of people who don't have it are. Obviously, Pluto is used for army training and stuff like that. But most everybody who lives on Terra has neural lace.
Okay.
Okay. All right, hold on a second. Get rid of that. Get rid of that.
Hey, Tom, we miss you.
Yeah, we do. All right, so there's that. Let's go back to the Gin Tonic real quick. And I want to talk a little bit about specs. Talk about we talked about hauling. Essentially, the Gin Tonic is classified as a 200 metric ton freighter hauler. It's got jump 3, 100 ton capacity, 25 metric tons of internal cargo space, which is down here in this area right here. And then 3 25 metric ton cargo pod attachments. They're big, and they connect up to essentially what you guys would consider the bottom of the ship and the rear of the ship. And so, but that's how you get for a total cargo volume of 100 metric tons. Purely space-based, can't descend in a gravity well. You have about 100 of the cargo. So if you look at a cargo of 25 metric tons and you take that away from the 100 metric ton or 200 metric ton size, you have about 175 metric tons of internal mass. 80 metric tons of that is the jump drive, the reactors, the UMB processing plant, the AI core, and your schooner. That's about 80 metric tons altogether. Jump fuel, and you have enough for about 8 parsecs, is another 32 metric tons. UMB, which we talked about, enough for 10 people for 8 weeks, is another 51 metric tons.
That's right. The metric system didn't survive to interstellar space.
It absolutely did.
It's all these tons now.
It's metric tons,
metric tons. Oh,
which is metric ton is 1,000 kilograms.
Pardon moi.
Personnel and accoutrements is about 8 metric tons, and then you have 2 jump torpedoes, one emergency, one non-emergency. They're about a metric ton apiece. So we talked about your lifeboats, which are here, 6 persons apiece. But you also have in the same storage lockers what are called jump torpedoes. So jump ships, essentially a jump torpedo is about probably a 4 meter long. They call them jump torpedoes because they actually look like torpedoes. They don't have fins on them, but what they do is basically a jump drive with a data arcology, small cargo area, much smaller than an actual person. Essentially, when in the early days of jump technology wasn't as refined as it is now. And sometimes they would have something what is called a misjump, sometimes in a random direction. What ended up effectively is that you had starships that had found themselves well out of the traditional lanes. The distances that we are talking about in interstellar space are immense, and to the point that there's no way that if somebody had a misjump that somebody would accidentally find them. That would be incredibly rare, if infinitesimal. So what they did was they invented jump torpedoes. And essentially, if something bad happens to a ship and it finds itself out of the shipping lanes and dead in the water, they will launch their jump torpedo. And the jump torpedo is pre-programmed to go back to a place that would be either within a nearby system or on a well-known commercial or military trade route, and begin pinging away as hard and as loud as it could on subspace channels. Essentially, it's a distress call sender, but also what it does is it jumps away. They typically are jump 2. They have jump 2 engines in them because they have nothing in the way of weight, and they can get out to places. Basically, you send your distress call sender in a place where it's likely to be heard, as opposed to continuing in your ship, which is unlikely to be heard. You have 2 of them. One is for emergencies, one is for non-emergencies. The emergency ones are all completely automated, and they start pinging away once they reach wherever they're headed for. The non-emergency ones can be programmed to do that or other things. What jump torpedoes are is incredibly expensive. You don't use them unless it's an actual emergency.
Yeah.
They are expensive. What the hell is that noise?
Wow, deep space is filled with exotic sounds.
I thought in deep
People
space
can
no
hear
one
you
could hear
scream.
it. Yeah, somebody's screaming in deep space. That's not what
A
happened.
space parrot and a space dog.
Oh, okay.
I think I speak those languages.
It's a space parrot. Awesome. What's the parrot's name, Andrew?
Cosmo.
Cosmo the parrot. I like it.
Excellent.
I like it a lot. All right, so that's jump torpedoes. But so the other thing that neural lace allows you to do is to communicate. So we've been talking about communications here. Essentially, it's like having subspace internet in your head at all times. Primarily, what it allows you to do, it allows you to talk with the ship. So Gin Tonic has obviously an AI that controls the jump drive and a variety of other things, life support, that kind of thing. And that AI's name is Gin. And having neural lace allows you to talk directly without vocalization to Gin. There's a part of the system allows you to sort of think in terms of things. It does not allow other things to read your mind. That's not what happens. But it allows you to essentially talk, for lack of a better, with other entities that also have neural lace. So for those of you on the crew that have neural lace, you can talk with each other without talking, provided you're in the same network area. Those network areas tend to be planetary or partial system network areas. When you're on ship, you can talk to Gin. You don't have to talk to him. Those of you who don't have neural lace, you can still talk to the ship. There are speakers and stuff all over the place, but it's vocal. It's audio. You can say, Gin, I need this. Gin, I need that. Gin, tell me a story. And he'll do that. But those of you with neural lace don't need to speak to do that. When it comes to communicating with other people, obviously the distance involved preclude the ability for you to be on a ship 6 parsecs away on a planet that far away. You can't do that. Once you're in system, however, you might be able to pick up network and ping somebody like this Palmer guy who may or may not have neural lace, probably does. Once you get into the system where he is, it could be that Weber can, reach out to him via neural lace to see if he's available, willing to talk, that kind of thing. It's essentially like pinging somebody or like an email or something, but you have to be within the same subspace network. You have to basically be on the same internet. Obviously, internet's on, like I said before, internet's on networks on sophisticated planets tend to be large and comprehensive. Elsewhere, not so much. Make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So that's what neural lace does. Do you want to talk about your ship's AI, Gin?
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about a little bit of others. There are various kinds of AI on the thing. Before we get to Jim, let's talk about the other kinds. So you have a variety of different things. So drones, of which Emix Codex 30 Marilon, which is his proper name, is an AI-driven drone. They're autonomous, they're self-guided AI, and they're technically, from the point of view of what you would call governmental and commercial agencies, they're essentially SOFONs with their own citizenship rights. They can and do act independently, more or less as they wish. They tend to be small, although sometimes they're large. They usually have what would be considered above average intelligence compared to Salamini standard. They are registered as part of with the Salamini Confederation government under the rules set forth in a piece of legislation called the Terran Artificial Intelligence Consortium Constitution, also known as the TAIC, TAICC. And it's laws for AIs, which basically say AIs as independent SOFONs have to act within the laws that are particular to the area in which they live. They have to conform to Salamini law. And that there being an AI-driven drone, there being an artificial creature, an artificial intelligence, does not exempt them from certain laws. They can't go around killing people and just say, "Hey, I'm not a human. I don't follow your laws. Your rules frighten and confuse me." But those are drones, and there are several different kinds. They tend to be of all different natures. Other AI, there's like what we call servos or sub AI or slave AI or gerbils. Sometimes people call them. They all refer to things that you would not necessarily call artificial intelligence. Small, barely intelligent. Usually, these are process-driven AI. They run machines. They run grav cars. They run that kind of stuff. Things that if you catch a taxi in a gravity well, this is the kind of thing that runs that. They're smartish, but they're not like a person, right? It's more like talking to a computer or talking to a machine. Then you have ship AI, which Gin is, and we talked about how the development of ship AI, because the physics and the mathematics associated with jump drives and jump space is so incredibly complex, and even more so during the entry and exit into and from jump space, these calculations have to be done on a picosecond by picosecond basis. It's just simply beyond the capability of an actual human to do this. So artificial intelligence and jump technology sort of grew hand in hand. And the first real artificial intelligence were ship AIs, of which Gin is one. Now, he prefers it to be spelled DJINN, like genie, as opposed to gin, like gin and tonic, but that's just him being a doof. But he controls the jump space. He also controls the life support and all the things that make the ship go, so that you guys do it. Now, obviously, his remit is to the captain and crew of the Gin and Tonic. Ship AIs typically are incapable of not following reasonable orders given by the ownership tier or officer tier of a particular spacecraft. Now, they can act independently when need arises, but typically if a captain or somebody in the crew of a ship gives an order to a ship's AI, that order will be carried out, so long as it doesn't actively result in the deaths of everyone else on the ship. So if, like, Captain Jet Black says, I hate this crew, I want to murder them all, Jin, I want you to turn off I want you to seal their rooms and turn off life support in all of the crew staterooms while they're asleep. Jin's not going to do that.
But if I only did one crew member, he would?
Well, it would depend. It would depend on the situation. No, of course not. He's not going to do that. So, and what's more, he's going to report Captain Black to any legal authority that he is in contact with. So keep in mind that there are a lot of different AIs out there. And just as an example, the first thing that's going to happen when you guys drop out of jump space at a Lagrange point outside of a populated high tech level star system is that essentially traffic control AI for that system, or that part of that system, is going to reach out to your ship and say, hello, welcome to our system, where are you headed? And that conversation is going to go to Jin first. And it's almost instantaneous. As soon as you drop out of jump space, usually traffic control AI for a particular system will reach out.
Identify yourself with a transponder, and
Right, immediately reach out and say, hey, how's it going? We register you as the Gin and Tonic out of UV SETI. Welcome to Mirabilis. Where are you headed? And Jin tells them, oh, we're going to Adagio Orbital. We've got, my crew's got some meetings there. And the traffic control AI will lay in a course, a sublight course, and say, follow this vector. They'll be expecting you, and and sometimes the traffic control AI will actually call Adagio, planetary control or orbital control, and say, hey, you've got be ready for the Gin and Tonic, which is going to arrive in 8.5 hours, and they'll set up docking things. So all of these things are done by these AI that begin communicating with each other almost immediately after you enter system, except for two situations. One, some systems, especially outlying systems, may not have traffic control AI because they don't need them. If they don't have a lot of traffic coming to their system, traffic control will be done by the people at the planetary level, and it'll be done by people rather than AI. So you might have to talk to them, and it's an old code, but it checks out, that kind of thing.
Yep.
I was just about to let them through, so they might not need AI. Planetary traffic control AI are big and expensive, and unless your Sol system has two traffic AIs, one based Antarctica traffic control, which is not on Antarctica, it's actually an orbital above Antarctica in geosynchronous orbit, controlling traffic on the inner planets, and then you have Europa control, which controls outer planet traffic. So you have two in Sol, but most places will only have one depending on what they need. Will have control, but yeah, those conversations will start taking place unless their traffic control AI doesn't exist, or you have explicitly given directions to Jin not to contact traffic control AI upon entering a system, which you can do, but it's also very curious.
Is it possible to have Jin give a incorrect transponder number?
Yes, although Jin would probably be curious as to why you wanted him to do that.
Okay.
If you had a good reason. Ultimately, Jin works for you.
Right.
So you can if you gave Jin a direct order to give a false transponder code to a traffic control AI, Jin would do it. But ultimately, if that became discovered, you would be responsible, not Jin.
Right.
Okay. And it might be easier to convince him. You know, he might not be altogether 100% on board with something like that. It's not something that he would be normally tasked to do.
Right.
But I mean, if you could convince him, like, this is why we're doing it and this is why we have to do it, he'd be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, sure, I'm in, you know, or whatever. Now, he is intelligent. So, I mean, it's not like he's just a dumb machine. He is intelligent. He can make decisions on his own, instructions as to what to do, and say, look, you know, just do this any way that you think is best. So then you have two other kinds of AI, warships, which tend to be like ship AI, but a bit more martial in personality. They are used to making decisions. They are uncrewed vessels by and large. Warships and smart weapons. Warships tend to be uncrewed unless they're troop transport. Smart weapons, by definition, are uncrewed. They are completely an AI driven. They are given orders and set loose, essentially. So they tend to be quite martial of thinking. And then, you know, but generally speaking, they do not interact with people all that much. And then you have minds, which are essentially AI that have evolved into something much bigger and much stronger. They tend to be a little bit, tend to be both humanistic and benevolent by design and by their own shared culture. Minds have more in common with each other than they have in common with humanity, but by general agreement, they tend to be benevolent. But they have personalities. Some are aggressive, some are calm, some engage in mischief, some are defined by the fact that they're very intellectually curious. You know, no mind could be said to be like the same as any other. Sometimes large orbital hubs will have minds controlling them. That's the case in Mirabilis. It has a mind called Walk into Light, which controls the arcologies down on Adagio, and Ascensio, the large orbital, which you guys are currently in. So you guys are actually on an orbital platform that is controlled by a mind named Walk into Light. And mind is, I mean, their AI is just like the same as their artificial intelligences. They're just very powerful, very sophisticated ones. They tend to, AIs that eventually turn into minds usually do so because they've done something to themselves. So sometimes AIs, because depending on what kind of AIs they are, they can become introspective, and they will engage in intellectual pursuits that tend to be beyond sort of human comprehension in large part, because they're essentially purely intelligence. These are ones that tend to become minds, and they also tend to augment themselves. They get bigger. So, you know, it's like I mentioned in that the mind called a series of unlikely explanations allowed its core, its physical core, to be observed, and what it was basically described as a mirror-like ellipsoid of several dozen cubic meters, but weighing many thousands of tons, due to the fact that, according to series of unlikely explanations, it was made up of hyperdense matter that existed primarily in jump space. So this was a mind that wasn't created, that eventually evolved itself away from what it was created by. And according to its own description, existed at least partially in jump space all the time, because it had evolved itself to be comprised of hyperdense matter.
Huh.
Okay.
Hasn't created religion yet, though.
Some minds are worshipped. The other thing on board ship is, I don't know if I've talked to you guys about this. I know I've mentioned it. UMB, I've said a couple of times tonight, which is undifferentiated base. Essentially, it doesn't make a ton of sense for you guys to bring like animals and vegetables onto a ship and eat them. So what you have, and this goes everywhere. Most ships will carry what they call UMB. It's essentially a molecularly diverse stuff. Essentially, it's base material But it contains a variety of molecules, typically, and it's used by the differentiators to make food, water, air, and all the proper combinations. So this goo, which is loaded into your ship, essentially has all of that elemental and molecular base to make into food, water, and air. Now you have recycled.
Sounds delish.
Yeah, it is. It processes them into consumables in whatever ratios the crew complement requires, recycles the waste back for reuse. It's not a perfectly efficient situation, so occasionally the gin and tonic has to take on additional UMB. But that's what you eat and drink. So as you can imagine, it's probably likely that you're going to want to take advantage of actual restaurants in those areas where you dock. Because as handy as UMB is, it is not what you would call tasty. So a lot of people, especially a lot of people who spend a lot of time on starships, which would include long-haul commercial haulers, tend to carry around with them a selection of spices and hot sauce, just in case.
To the UMB.
For the UMB.
If I'm doing the math right here, we currently have 6 players, and we have looks like 8 staterooms. Does that mean there's going to be 2 guest staterooms for either future players or cargo guests that we're transporting from one place?
Yep, that is correct.
Cool. Are we all going to pick a stateroom in here along the hub? Captain Jet gets dibs first.
Captain Jet doesn't sleep, as far as you know.
He's always on the bridge.
He's got to have somewhere to put all his spices, apparently. These are doors on them.
Yeah, you can see him. Hold on.
I see him now. I see the door. I had to zoom in. Yeah. Thank you. That helps.
Would that one quarters have a door to the sick bay? Is that something I should?
No, that's right here. Sort of sick bay is sort of like sectioned off from that. This area is typically for personal cargo or passenger cargo. Bay is sectioned off for one sort of very ugly reason, and that is the ability to quarantine it.
Yep.
Only one bed.
Yeah, don't get sick.
Don't get shot. It's multiple.
So, but no, it doesn't. There is no direct access to sickbay from the crew quarters. You have to kind of go around through here and then through these locks and into here and over to sickbay. It's basically so that if necessary, sickbay can be quarantined off, and there's at least 1, 2, 3 locks that can be sealed off to keep whatever.
Someone turns into a zombie.
In case whatever happens in sickbay stays in sickbay.
So, are you gonna? Can you fix permanent tags to these rooms? We'll say which one's which, just to help add ownership feeling to the.
Yeah, which one do you want?
So after the captain picks, who picks next? Yeah, you gonna roll die?
Yeah, let's roll some dice.
Roll a 20-sided. Highest gets to pick.
Don't we play with 6-sided in this game?
That's right.
Yeah, only 6-sided. You got to roll 2 6-sided or.
Okay.
2 6-sided.
And Captain chooses.
Oh, because of my neural web, I have a cybernetic dice rolling that gives me a +5 on rolls.
On each die.
On each die, yeah.
Nice.
Did I mention that? Yeah.
That's the captain's right there.
Okay.
Got it.
Close to the bridge.
Do you see my note I sent you, Les?
I did.
Something we can discuss later.
Yep.
Which one did you pick? Ping it again.
Right here.
All right, I didn't see it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, which one was it?
It's labeled now.
It's labeled now, yep.
Oh, nice. All right. I rolled a 11. Doc rolled a 12.
Doc, yeah. So anybody else? Who else is
I rolled a 6.
So Andrew, I need to roll. Oh, Doc rolled. Okay, so I need who else is going to roll? Eric, you got to roll. And
Sure.
Mostly harmless alien observer can hover in one of the empty staterooms.
I roll what?
2d6.
2d6.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, go.
9.
Okay.
All right. So Dr. Wagner, you get first dibs. Then Weber Jix, then Coffin Doyle, and then Tam.
Nice. Doctor.
That one?
Okay.
You got it. Hold on a second. Let me grab your name. It's one of the bigger ones, too. All right. Weber. Got that one? All right. Coffin Doyle.
How do I make a? Oh, wait,
You should be able to just click and hold down.
If if you're using the arrow, just click and hold it.
There you go. Smart idea. Be near the captain.
You like that one up in the top there?
Yes, please.
You got it. Tam, what about you?
I just wanted to be closer to the escape pods, but not so close that I look needy.
You know, you're worrying me because you already asked about how many seats were on that. Now you're
Hey,
how many seats are on these escape pods?
These characters all have a little baggage, past experience baggage. You don't know.
All right, there you go. Now these are the ones confirmed. These are the ones you want.
Yes.
All right.
I thought we had 6 players. I only see 5 staterooms.
So that's Beth. She's not here tonight.
yet.
So she's gonna have to pick her own stateroom when she gets here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yep. But it doesn't have a berth, does it?
Yes, it does.
Oh, so she's got her own then.
She might, yeah.
Is that ship something we can affix to the cargo points that we talked about earlier? Is it like a smaller ship that we attach to this ship, or what?
We'll have to see.
Okay, cool. We're just farming out like a wagon train in space, like a legit caravan. Across the deserts, just big wagon train of ships. I'll say Amazon on the side. Oh, so one question you mentioned earlier, Les, and when the captain was asking about hard points, you'd mentioned the bridge positions, but they didn't include a weapons position because there is no weapons. Would you add a weapons position here, or would you just put it somewhere else in the ship? I'm only asking because it sounds like if weapons come into play, that I gotta press a button or two.
We would probably not put it on the bridge. The easiest way would be to put it directly under wherever nearby wherever the hard point was mounted.
Okay.
My guess it would probably be right here in the latrine, somewhere in there. Maybe in this stall right here.
Oh, that sounds good.
Okay. No, probably it's possible that you could put another. There's some room here in the bridge. You'd have to do some customization, but yeah, it might be able to fit. Or in that area.
Okay.
One of these areas.
Yeah, so maybe not so much a button.
Or engineering.
Maybe like a Metropolis lever or wheel I gotta like roll around in or something.
Yeah.
It'd be more like
levers. Okay. All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Cool. All right. So hold on. So we've talked a lot about some stuff. Let me check my short agenda. Okay. So let's talk about Ascensore and where you are. So you guys are at an orbital platform in the Mirabilis system. And as we talked about where Mirabilis was, you could see that you guys are sort of on the southwestern end of space. The likelihood is that if you guys are going to go see this Palmer dude, you might be heading east. So you're going to want to try and pick up some cargo. We'll talk about that at our next time about cargo things you might send out a thing. Now, Emix is on UV Ceti, which is about 5 parsecs away. To the north. That's where he's based primarily. So you can get messages to him. So there's a couple of different ways. So Emix has put a partial personality construct of himself in your AI core. So there's a part of Gin that is Emix, and what you can do is for basic kind of stuff, you can ask his personality construct, which behaves like Emix does, certain questions, and it will respond as Emix would. There is a limit to what a personality construct can do, from that point of view. And for certain things, you're going to want to probably set up some sort of communication with Emix directly. Now, several of you have either spoken to or been with Emix in the relatively recent past. For most of you, he has sent you here to Mirabilis to meet Captain Jet Black and the Gin and Tonic, because that was going to be your new post. But he is on UV SETI. So if you need to get a hold of him or let him know about something, or ask him for something, that's going to take some time.
It sounds like some of the stuff, at least that we initially need, if we're going to go see Palmer, is something that somewhere shady or war-torn systems would be interested in, maybe cargo-wise.
Okay. Where you are right now, you would probably, if you were going to head that way, you're probably looking at going southerly. I would say probably, what I would say, if you were headed towards there, let's just pop this on here real quick. I'm going to do it in blue. You guys decide what path you want to take, but if you were headed for, where were you saying he was? At Dismal?
Yeah.
In a fronter space, so that's a dangerous place. So
well, yeah, I can make a call, right, and see if he's still there. I know he hangs out on the fringes of law space, so it might not actually be in that system. But that's what I was asking you earlier. How do I make a call to check on
where he is? You have to get close. You have to get like in a network. Now here in Mirabilis, you could post up. Or even if you got closer, as far as, as close as like Calgary or Hephaestus, that would be easier to sort of get onto the Salamini network. But that wouldn't necessarily reach into a fronter space. You might need to ask some people if they know where he is.
Okay.
If it was me, I might go this route. Now, green pernt will take you too far away, but probably if you got to green pernt, you could. That would be. That he sometimes operates out of there. It's far away but close enough. Then you might take your jump 3. So you might jump 3 to here. Use additional fuel pod. And make the jump to Dismal. But boy, oh boy, you'd have to have a pretty good reason to be jumping into a war zone.
Right. So the red means their actual war zone. Is that right? Well, the purple is a
purple is contested space.
Yeah, I think it might be a contested space south of Dismal, as I recall. That 2301 is that?
Mm-hmm. Now that's open space. There's no system there.
Well, that you know of.
True. If you were headed for Dismal, that would be the path I would take.
It's contested space for a reason. You don't contest empty vacuum. Come on.
True. Well, that's a good point. Also, you'd be in jump space at the time, so it wouldn't be like you were passing through contested space. You would sort of be passing under it, for lack of a better analogy.
I get it. Yeah, that's a ticket. 2301.
I need to step away for a moment. I'll be back soon.
Okay.
But if I get to green pert, maybe I can pick up something. Maybe he's not there anymore. He might have, he's got to go where the buyers are, right?
He has people.
Do we
there.
have a quest?
Now all you have is pick up some cargo and take it somewhere good.
Right. Enix hasn't assigned us whatever he has in mind yet, right? That Les probably outlined up most of us earlier.
He's got about 50 metric tons of cargo that at Mirabilis that he's saying, if you guys are interested, it needs to go to Ishkur.
Which is where?
north. Oops, sorry.
With the vegans?
No, not that far north. Jesus. Hold on.
Those vegans. It's probably some soy products. Ugh.
So that's
Tons of
Ishkar.
soy.
Yeah.
So I'll make that actually.
Did you highlight it? I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's red.
Oh, I see it now. Okay.
So it's sort of headed. So the cargo that he has arranged for you guys is 50 metric tons. Is headed to Ishkar, which is a 2 jumps. I mean, you guys are jump 3. It's a 4 parsec jump. So you're going to have to stop in the middle anyway.
Could we jump to here and then jump to there?
Sure, if you wanted to. It'll still be 2 jumps, but I mean, you wouldn't be jumping into
okay.
open space.
Yeah, I don't know.
So yeah, if you open space is always kind of you never know. So yeah, you could do it this way. If you wanted to get to Ishkar from Mirabilis, you could go here to here. Whoops. Here to here. God damn, I hate when it switches color like that. All right, I'm gonna do this. I'm just gonna get rid of all this shit.
So maybe we, Cap. Maybe we, I have a little scratch here. Maybe we pony up for some more cargo before we. I mean, we're not full up yet, right? We have room to maybe pick up some other stuff in the Mirabilis or our first jump location before we jump to Shuri.
So you carry your fuel complement is enough for 8 parsecs. So at jump 3 you can make. So you have jump 3 engines, which means you can jump a maximum of 3 parsecs per jump. Each jump, regardless of distance, takes about a week. So you're a week in jump space for every jump you make.
Okay.
Yeah.
One other thing too, before we figure out how we get paid from any jobs we do, and we're gonna do like ships everywhere, adventuring ships everywhere, and have shares. One share to the ship for maintenance and all that. 2 shares to the captain. 1 share to everybody else, or how do you want to do it?
I'm going to get a drink before this conversation starts because I want to hear this.
Actually, well, and while Les is gone, Matt, my idea was not far off here. I'm actually thinking as a captain, I'd only take 1, but I want the ship to take 2. 1
Okay.
mortgage payment and 1 for upgrades and improvements that we can vote on.
So equal shares with Gin and Tonic, each getting a share.
There you go. That's a way to look at it.
Do we need to pull? Does Enix need to share? Does he get a taste?
Well, yeah, he gets his taste probably before we figure out profits.
Gives us what our payment basically.
All right,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
after he takes off the top, then I think we keep it simple to pirate. What's that?
I can tell you what Emix's manager's fee is. It's 15% of the total of the gross.
Yeah. So what we get back from him, then we
let
do
me
whatever.
rephrase that.
It's worry about giving him his portion.
Right.
Okay.
Did himself.
So, and then if anybody joins these are the original shares that'll include us plus when Beth joins us, and then any future players, they get full shares. They get a diluted half share. I'm writing up this contract right now. Yeah, and
he's already thinking about ripping off new guys.
I mean,
we just need to kill him.
Now, to be clear, though, these shares we also first take out like fuel costs and other things too, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what I thought the double shares of the ship would go.
Double share for the ship was.
Yeah.
No, that was going to be for the mortgage payment and for upgrades. If it all goes to fuel, then.
So you will periodically have to buy jump fuel and less often UMB. And I can get you prices on what that's going to be. Price for fuel and UMB is going to vary from place to place. It's going to be maybe a little bit more expensive on a thing. Honestly, there's money to be made trucking UMB out to the hinterlands because they don't have a lot of it. And they don't really have the facilities. The facilities necessary to make UMB are actually kind of complex. You need to build essentially, you need to build a transportable monomolecular substance that contains the things that you need but is precluded from combining with each other. Because I mean, you guys know chemistry. When you put all those molecules together, they start jumping together like all kinds of crazy stuff. And you need to be able to have.
Tell me.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know this.
I watched every episode of Breaking Bad. I am a chemistry expert.
Well, you know that when you have monomolecular, and especially organic compounds, close to each other, they tend to jump together into little groups.
That's how they make the SpaghettiOs.
That's how they make the SpaghettiOs. Well, this you don't want it jumping together in a juice. You want to do it as needed. And some of the molecules contained in UMB are going to be made into air. Some of them are going to be made into water. Some of them are going to be made into something that looks a little bit like tuna casserole. You don't want those molecules jumping into each other. And some of those things, especially organic compounds, which this primarily is made up of, tend to jump together like it's crazy town. You've seen organic chemistry. It's like carbon and oxygen chains a mile long.
Yeah, everything you said here, all I heard is that Soylent Green is people.
Well, yes. Delicious, delicious people.
Yes, sir.
We got two choices to start with. We can keep track of operating costs, deduct those from the fees collected, and then do the splits.
Sure.
Or we can start with like a 25% going to ship operating costs and split it up right away that way, and then adjusting it after a time when we find out how much the operating cost is actually going to be.
Yeah, because I'm not really interested in doing a lot of bookkeeping.
That's why I thought shares would be easy.
Yeah.
Just
So I'm
divide
okay
the
with
kitty.
that.
All right. But I guess to Don's point, I don't know how much the ship's operating costs are either. Sounds expensive.
Well, it's not too bad. It's just we know the fuel has got to constantly be replaced.
Right.
And the food from time to time, it's just a cost, but I guess it depends on how much money we make, right? Relatively speaking. How much these jobs bring in.
You'll notice that when we talk about money, Weber Jix rings his hands together like Jack Horkheimer on Star Hill Solar. Excellent, Mr. Burns.
Let me run the books for a while. I will. They'll be open to anyone for review. After a couple of jobs, you should be able to find out how much, what percentage of each job is going to be taken up with just ship operating costs.
Hey, Les, I cast Detect Evil on Tam. Oh, wait. Wrong.
We're not playing Starfinder. There's no Detect Evil. There's no alignment either. So you guys can be as evil or as neutral as you want to be.
I'm a poker player, so I don't give anything away.
I'm not evil. I'm just a poker player.
Just when a gambler says, "Let me hold the money for you," and I always get a little nervous.
Coffin's looking at this like, poker player, you say?
I will always show you the books. Just remember, I'm only showing you the blue books, not the. There's only one book.
I didn't say they were the only books.
Yeah. Well, if you can get past, you can pull a fast one on an AI, then maybe you're the kind of gambler I want to bet on.
Well, there's also the idea of taxes too. So.
That's all part of operating
costs. System taxes, those big AIs, those big traffic control AIs, they cost money.
Bribes.
Our port of entry is in Florida, so there are no taxes.
Florida has taxes.
No,
there's nobody Trump came down here.
Yeah, we're in Delaware. We only have property taxes.
We only have
Delaware.
Incorporated out of Delaware.
Yeah, they don't have usury laws there, so we can charge whatever we want. All right.
Did you guys settle on what the shares were going to be?
Equal shares with 2 going to the ship.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
All right.
And then
operating costs.
And then operating costs. Yeah, and that's at less the agent's fee for Enix.
Okay. Yeah,
so
Emix's fee for those jobs that he brokers, Emix's fee comes off of the gross, not the net.
I think for most of us who don't have a lot to buy right now, most of us want to be able to either afford the neural net and or the maintenance cost of said neural net. I haven't heard anything else I'm really interested in buying. So I think if we can get to a jobs that cover that, then at least for now, unless you have planets for sale or something we want to look at, that I don't have anything else to buy.
There's a lot of planets out there.
I have a couple questions on buying stuff, Les, but I'll hit you up with some emails afterwards.
No, you can bring them up now. We still have. I mean, unless anybody else has other questions. I mean, if you guys want to talk about buying. I'm sorry.
Is Greenland for sale?
Green Perch is for sale. No. I mean, so there are a lot of planets out there that are essentially, in some cases, unattended. You see all those areas that have X's on them? Mm-hmm. Those are essentially systems that do not have a ton of resources or a ton of people out there. If you wanted to go stake a claim on some land, and then you didn't mind that it might be poisonous or vacuum or something like that, there's opportunities.
Any dire threats outside the Solamny cluster that wasn't previously named? Aliens, predators, space worms, giant crystalline snowflakes at the encounter at Farpoint. Anything?
Farpoint.
No, there was from a history standpoint, there was a couple of big wars, but these are probably for the Affront. It was the war with the Affront was probably 50 to 60 years ago. So it's relatively recent history. The war with the Kzinti was a couple of hundred years ago, closer probably to 300 or 400 years ago. What the Solamny did was, once they had artificial intelligence, they essentially started building warships and smart weapons, and that's what they use. And that's the Affront, honestly. So the Affront's culture, when the Affront Solamny War is an interesting case study, because you have a very high technological area in the Solamny cluster. You have the Affront, who are sort of like just sort of dipping their toe into what we would consider or intrastellar operations. They had moved on to a few planets within their system. They had taken those over. Their technology, in large part, ran towards genetic manipulation rather than jump drives. They did not have jump drives when this war came out. It was the Solamny cluster who entered into their space and got a frightful reception, because the Affront hate everyone pretty much with the sort of weird glee.
Well, it's pretty much manifest destiny that they're the boss.
The Affront?
To them.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. They are firm in their conviction that the drubbing that they got during the Solamny War was just a temporary setback. But they're very martial. They're very expansionist. And now that they have jump drives and AI-driven machinery, they're into that. The only thing really keeping the Affront sort of in check is the idea that they don't really like AIs all that much. And it comes from the idea of them being non-Affront personalities. If they can be considered slaves to the Affront, they're still not people. And an Affronter, if you asked them about like a robotic slave or some sort of AI, enslaved AI that would control things, they were like, where is the honor in being served by a machine? And they would point to their genetically engineered subservient species that they use for essentially slaves, and say, there's no honor to me as an Affront warrior of being served by a machine, when I can be served by these species who take honor from being my servants. Why would I be served by a mere machine? So they have this very weird kind of relationship with AI. They understand how to use it. They use it for jump technology, but it's not nearly as widespread in the Affronter space as it is in the Solamny cluster.
Maybe they saw John Carpenter's first movie, Dark Star, and realized that AI weapons aren't a great idea.
Well, the Solamnys embraced it. So when they went to war with the various people that they go to war with, a lot of it was analogous to like drone weapons that are being used now, right? These are, but taken to the nth power, right? So a smart weapon. Imagine a smart planet buster missile, right? Mm-hmm. So this is an AI-driven smart missile whose only job that it has been designed for is to strike, for example, fall into a gravity well, strike at the core of some sort of planetoid or asteroid or something like that, whatever the target may be, and destroy it. So
that's the premise of Dark Star, the movie.
Is it really?
You never saw Dark Star? Oh,
So no,
it's so
I've never
horrible.
seen
It's a
it.
horrible, horrible movie, but it's hilarious.
But I mean, they would be. So if you were Salamini fighting Salamini, you would have defensive smart weapons who would say your job is to destroy that swarm of smart missiles that's coming this way. Or you have warships that are saying, basically the job of the Salamini weaponry of the military were automated systems designed to fight other automated systems, except for in one area, which is why the Salamini have such a rigid military, which you guys are all in many cases veterans of, is the idea of moving people. I mean, it ultimately resides in the idea of you don't have territory unless you can hold territory. And the only way to hold territory is put boots on the ground. So the idea is that if you were going to, if Greenpernt and Barnard Star got into a war, the interstellar aspects of that war would be fought with autonomous AI-driven weapons. But before that war could be considered over, somebody would have to put Space Marines or Army or something on the other person's grounds. Whether it be the planets or the various planets of their system, or their core planetoid where their culture resides, or what have you. Okay. The Affront only knew part 2 of that. They did not have autonomous weapons because it's just not part of their culture. Why would you have an autonomous weapon? That would remove the affronter from the fight. And they love to fight. Why would you? They can't even conceive of having a weapon that fights on its own without you there. And that's when the Salamini basically, they sent a bunch of smart weapons and warships into affronter space and basically destroyed them because, one, the Salamini cluster has a comparatively huge resource pool, and 2, the Salamini cluster could just send these warships and smart weapons into affront space with impunity, and they weren't risking anything from the point of view of their home systems. So they just basically took out the Affront Navy, destroyed a lot of their warrior tier, and to the point where the Affront said, all right, we give for now. That kind of thing. You got us. And then they turned that into a way of, then they started stealing technology. Especially jump technology, which they did not have at the time of the war. And they used that technology to find out about the Kzinti, who they decided were going to be much more amenable enemies than the humans. Because the Kzinti also have a very outlook when it comes to warfare as the Affront does. That warfare is personal as opposed to automated. That makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the Kzinti and the Affront just love the fact that the others exist because they have somebody proper to fight now. Whereas the Salamini have all these systems that they use and these warships. Now, most of those warships have been mothballed. The Salamini haven't been in a significant war since the Affronter War, and they've essentially, they decommissioned a lot of warships. They have some that are still, they still maintain a pretty significant military. Again, a lot of you guys are veterans of that military. But some of these ships, once they were decommissioned, they didn't just turn them off. You don't just turn off an artificial intelligence. So there are still warships out there who are not technically warships anymore that are sort of doing their own thing. Now, they've effectively been decommissioned, so they're probably not festooned with weapons or armaments like they were when they were warships, but they may still have that same sort of attitude towards stuff. And if you guys can find guns, well, what do you think an artificial intelligence who knows a lot of other warships that he's probably been thing is? How do you think they would feel about finding guns? Make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Sounds messy. Just perfect for guys like us.
Outlying space is a messy place, my friend. You guys are going to love it.
You call it messy, I call it opportunity.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Other questions, other items? We're coming up on 11 o'clock. So if there's any other things we want to talk about, we should wrap up. Shopping. So you guys have the shopping books, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I have a better idea when I buy now. Now we've met the crew, and I know how much money I personally have, and where I can maybe. I did want to ask. They said if we wanted to, I talked about shares, but if we had extra money laying over, do we have a full cargo, or do we want to maybe pony up ourselves to come up with some additional items to take somewhere to just get a full load wherever we're going? Just a thought. Or specialty items, as it were. They can go in one of the locked boxes or personal crew area storage.
Do you want to solicit passengers?
It sounds like we have a couple open
Got a couple open staterooms.
Yeah.
Captain, what do you think?
I think, I think I'd prefer that than taking the risk of buying goods than that we're trying to sell again. I'd rather bring on passengers.
As long as those passengers come back as Keltra, then Mr. Cal Tra has just joined the ship. What?
Yeah, we said no questions asked.
Yeah.
Cal Tra has entered the game.
Doug's on. Hi guys, what's going on? And everybody's like, space him now.
Yeah.
Space him now. Yep.
So a couple of things before we stop. Then next time we play, I will have opportunities for you from a cargo standpoint. You guys will make a decision which way you want to go first. I expect you guys to send me pictures of your characters, maybe even a couple of pictures, something that we can use to look at and something I can use for an icon. Buy your equipment. Let me know if you have questions. What else?
Do I get to kill Don's character now?
Yes.
You got to roll 2 dice. Whatever the number is, he's dead.
Excellent.
Wait, whatever the number?
We still got to make him roll.
Yeah, I got to make it appear fair.
You apparently haven't seen me roll dice. They'll come up blank.
Big bucks, no chucks.
Is anybody else here been reading the Bobaverse series or the Murderbot series? They're most been out in the last few years.
No, I haven't.
I highly recommend them. The Bobaverse is basically an AI sent from Earth. He's one of those kind of rich people who sold out to Apple early and gets mowed down by a cab. But he wakes up as an AI in the far future, and basically helps save humanity by. He's heading off into deep space. So that's the beginning of the book to try and find new planets to do it. And there's now probably 5 books out by the end of this next year. And then the Murderbot series, I think, will be more appealing to this group here. It's an AI, like a cybernetic AI that is a security officer on a ship with a bunch of humans, and he's very, very antisocial. And he calls himself Murderbot from a bad experience he had with humans on another job. But these humans keep screwing things up and doing stupid things and risking their lives and whatnot. So he has to begrudgingly stop watching whatever videos he's watching and go save these stupid humans again. And little by little, his heroism continues to make him an entertaining, grouchy Murderbot.
Well, if you want to read, as long as we're talking about books, if you want to read some of the works that inspired some of the things that we're talking about in this campaign, I would recommend Accession by Ian Banks. Ian with 2 I's, IAIN Banks. He's a British writer, and the book's called Accession, and it gives you if you check out that book, it'll give you a real sort of insight into where I'm coming from the idea of how AI work and how minds work in the universe that we're talking.
Cool. And those Murderbots I mentioned, those are all short stories, but the official long form book will be out this year too. So.
Okay. You know what the author's name is?
Martha Wells.
Martha Wells.
You don't have a lot of sci-fi female authors that I'm aware of.
Hey guys, I'm gonna call it quits. I will talk to you guys all later.
Yep.
All right. See you,
the other one that you might like, I like him as audiobooks because I like the author or the narrator is Dennis Taylor is the Bobaverse. Those are all they're audiobook only.
They're audio only?
Yeah. They Audible started doing this thing a couple of years ago where they have Audible only series that some translate back to books because it became so popular. But I believe Bobverse is still audio only.
Okay. All right. Cool.
I enjoy listening to them when I'm driving or falling asleep. So.
Gotcha. All right.
All right.
Awesome. Sounds awesome.
I thought that was a productive time, and I'll look at that other book you're talking about.
All right. Sounds good.
I look forward to being smarmy and space with you all soon.
Excellent. All right.
Hey,
Yep.
Yeah, so I'll send my stuff in the email, but like one of the questions I had was the list you gave me for the ship, the prices, and some of the things weren't listed by that name in the catalog. But
Okay.
I'll send you an email just so we can clarify.
Yeah, we'll sync up.
Okay.
Very cool.
What's the smallest, most expensive thing I can put in a storage box to ship places? Probably some of that high tech data stuff. Probably, I'm guessing.
Get some of that unobtainium that I hear so much
Unobtainium, yes. Those big blue guys are awfully.
I hear good things.
Yeah, those big blue guys are awfully crabby about giving it up, though.
I don't know. You know, it's an interesting conundrum as to what you would think. So in a and I've thought about this a little bit in an environment where you have a high tech environment that stretches between multiple star systems. It's like in the existence of undifferentiated molecular base means that you don't really have a lot of. I mean, you probably do have a lot of like sort of wealth inequality in some of those places, but not to the extent that basic need. You could probably assume that in large part basic needs are being met. I characterize the governmental apparatus of the Salamini Confederation as something akin to sort of socialistic oligarchy, right? So government is very much a group of government specific. Think about like the analogy that I like to think of is sort of like the way that the House of Lords was in late 19th century, early 20th century England, right? So you had this group of individuals, often of whom came from the same families, for whom had sufficient wealth that they effectively didn't have to do anything from the point of view of like work. And not only that, but they actively felt that working was sort of beneath them from a wealth standpoint. So what they devoted their activities to were a couple of things, but primary among them was government. And the idea was that government service was exactly that. It was service to the country. So there was a real significant sort of level of this weirdly paternalistic patriotism that existed. But also, these people were essentially in a position where they didn't have to work, so they didn't have to sort of split their attention between government and acquiring resources. And what's more, they were considered to be sort of above reproach from the point of view of mere financial concerns. They couldn't be bribed because they already had tons of money and hated work. So it was like they were above all that. This weirdly sort of like oligarchical aspect of it where you had a lot of these people who knew each other. They were wealthy, but they were considered to be bred for leadership, essentially. And that's kind of analogous to what exists in the Salamini Confederation. Obviously, from system to system, from planet to planet, there are going to be variations. But if you're talking about core system worlds, there's a general sense of this sort of socialistic oligarchy, which, where most of everyone's basic needs are provided for, essentially. And the big decisions are made by people who everybody sort of tacitly agrees, either verbally or non-verbally, that are qualified to make those decisions. And sometimes they're people, and sometimes they're aliens, and sometimes they're AI, but they are all sort of above the, sort of petty concerns of day-to-day life. It's also highly bureaucratic. So you come from the diplomatic corps, obviously, so there's a lot of like stuff that goes on there, but it's a very bureaucratic system where things get done in various ways. But and there's a lot of people who go into that service specifically to engage in this, bureaucracy. Some people are better built for bureaucracies than others.
Sure.
So they go in this, interesting. I mean, there's a lot more, especially in the core world, there's a lot more people who are choosing their occupations and avocations by the fact that they're bored. I mean, ultimately, your basic needs are met. If you live on Mars or Venus or Terra, you could basically do nothing and survive quite easily. You can get, there are people who become writers, there are people who become artists, they are able to indulge these things because the basic needs of them and their families are being met essentially by the sheer wealth that exists in that concentrated thing. But some people, they engage in the diplomatic corps, or they join the army, or, what have you, because they want to give themselves purpose outside of just sitting around the house watching the holo.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense? Now, when you get into the outer worlds, you have as many different governmental types, especially those worlds where you have, which were essentially originally colonized by migrants or refugees, that kind of thing. People who willfully separated themselves because they felt marginalized in the early parts of the Terran Confederation. So governmental styles in the outer worlds can be quite different from a sort of socialistic oligarchy. From your point of view, you have participated in the socialistic oligarchy as a diplomat. Essentially, think the State Department on an interstellar scale.
Yeah, I would say that's.
Yeah, Eric lives in D.C., so he knows these guys.
I would say that I was exposed to the bureaucracy, and I've learned to tunnel through it when it's not working for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a burrower through the things, and that's why a lot of guys to help each other out when you get in a pinch.
Well, right, and that's honestly that is the at least in the bureaucracies that I've worked for, the people who matter in bureaucracies are the people who know how to burrow through the bureaucracy and get things done.
This is why you're always nice to your admin at an agency.
Exactly right, because otherwise you're going to pay double for when you order lunch.
Yeah,
it's true.
I always have the nicest tech equipment on the floor.
There you go. I was nice to the IT guy, so I'm gonna get another power cord. So I don't carry
that's
power cord
exactly
with me wherever I go.
If you ever get free food that you don't want, take it down to IT, and you will never have a computer problem that can't be fixed again.
I'll tell you what. I know, Matt, you remember this, but the best use of Twitter that I have ever seen before or since was not too long after Twitter was invented. The janitorial staff in the building we were at. You remember the old Group M building at 3rd and Lex?
Yep, I know it well.
Okay. Where that guy got beheaded?
Oh yeah, that was right across from the steakhouse there. What is it?
Yeah, I forget what the name of it was too. But anyway,
Smith and Walensky.
Yeah, Smith and Walensky.
Yeah.
Anyway, so our old building, the janitorial guys had a Twitter feed for the building that was basically they would tweet the location of unused conference room food.
Yeah.
And so, like, if people had a meeting, they would get coffee or sandwiches or something like that. And so these janitorial guys, whenever they discovered a conference room where the meeting was over, but there was still food left over, they would tweet it, and you would see this swarm of people. Because I remember, they were paying these guys, our junior executives and our junior planners and stuff. These guys were making $40,000 in Manhattan.
Right, barely keeping afloat.
I know. I know that there are some times when that Twitter feed was the only caloric intake that some of these people would have.
Do you remember we also shared the building with or shared the floors with the Diageo team? So there was tons of booze.
There was tons of booze everywhere. Yeah.
Around those things. It was. Yeah, we're all dry campuses now in New York, unfortunately. But
I heard about that. I'm just like, how do you guys survive?
I don't know, but people are snapping at a higher rate now.
I bet.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm gonna log off, but have a
all right, man.
All right, good.
Thanks, man. Matt, you gonna or Eric, you're gonna hang on for just a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, cool. I want to talk about the one thing.
Talk to you later.
You too, brother.
Bye.
All right, let me stop the recording. All right. So.